Reddit. What's the loneliest thing you've done? Story 1. I was home alone on New Year's Eve. I was playing The Sims in complete darkness. I had a small get-together with some other Sims. As the ball fell, I whispered, "Happy New Year," to myself. It really isn't as bad as many think. I'm more of a homebody who likes to be by myself and play video games anyway. Story 2. 2 weeks ago, I went to an 11:15 p.m. showing of the final Hobbit movie. I was the only person in the theater. I spent 20 minutes finding the perfect seat and seriously contemplating asking them to pause the movie when I went to take a piss. Holy shit, the movie is long. As I walked out of the theater at almost 2 in the morning, there were no employees in sight. My car was the only one in the lot, and light snow had recently fallen and was completely untouched. As I was about halfway to my car, I turned around to look at the theater, and all the frontage and interior lights were off. It looked almost like it had been closed all along. Story 3. I used to have a dog named Douglas. He was the child dog of an old relationship. When no one was around, I liked to sing random songs to him, replacing certain words with his name, Turn Down for Doug, Stairway to Douglas, Sweet Child of Doug, etc. Anyhow, after my ex and I broke up and parted ways, he got all depressed. Between work and graduate school and not really having a yard he could play in, I realized this wasn't the best environment for him. So despite loving that dog more than most of the people in my life, I called my ex and decided to let her keep him. A little while after he was gone, I caught myself singing Sweet Child of Doug alone in my house, and I got really sad. This was months ago, and I'm still sad about it. For the record, while I'm still sad about having to give Douglas up, it helps knowing it was best for him. My ex and I aren't really on good terms, so it's not a good idea for me to see him. I've been in a different, much more healthy relationship for a while now, and it's better for everyone if I just move on. That said, I still miss him all the time. He's very small and anxious, and I'm a pretty big guy, but we were a pretty cool duo. Story 4. I once walked into Dairy Queen wanting a sundae. Not knowing if I wanted a strawberry or chocolate, I compromised and was a little fat and got both. When the girl handed the sundaes to me, she asked if I wanted 1 spoon or 2. I told her, 2 please. It's not like they're both for me. She laughed. I went home and ate both sundaes. Story 5. When I moved, I had a lonely period where I hadn't had anyone to have a conversation with for around a year. I ate food I knew I couldn't, so I'd have to go to the emergency room and the staff there would see my details and somehow would wish me a happy birthday. Story 6. I inadvertently sent a friend request on Facebook to the wrong person who happened to have the same name as the intended recipient. For whatever reason, that person accepted the request. This person and I have never interacted and don't live anywhere near each other. I now read all of her updates and follow her life story. I've cheered during both of her pregnancies, felt scared when she had to deliver one child 2 months early, cried when her husband was hurt in Afghanistan, and felt proud when she was accepted to medical school. I realized one day that I had invented a completely one-sided friendship with an online stranger, all while sitting at home, alone in my pajamas. Story 7. During a long stretch of being single, I went to a strip club on Valentine's Day. All my friends had something going on and I didn't want to be alone. One of the strippers gave me a kiss on the cheek. It left a big red lipstick mark on my face and she whispered in my ear, "Hope that doesn't get you in trouble." Yeah, right. If I had someone at home who cared about random lipstick on my face, do you think I would be at a strip club by myself on Valentine's Day? Ended up going home, getting blackout drunk by myself, and trash talk young kids in Call of Duty. Story 8. As a kid, I used to sit quietly in my room with my temple to the door handle and felt so alone. I sat hoping my parents would open the door and just knock me out. They didn't open the door. My parents weren't bad. I kept everything to myself, so I don't think they had any idea. Mental health wasn't something people in my rural town had to deal with before. So I don't think I knew what was even going on with me. Story 9. My loneliest moment occurred about 2 years ago. It was during the summer and had gotten 2 free tickets to go to the local Renaissance fair. I did the only thoughtful thing I could think of. I asked my girlfriend of several years if she wanted to go. She was a teacher and claimed that she was too busy preparing for the school year, so she kept stalling and gave me non-committal responses. I asked her if she wanted to go on Friday night. Saturday came and went. I asked again if she would be game to go for an hour or 2 on Sunday for something to do. They were free, so I didn't really care if we stayed for a short amount of time. She claimed again that she was too busy, even after I offered to come help her, and still didn't give me a firm answer. Sunday rolled around and I asked again. She gave me the same routine. It was too short notice to invite anyone else, so I ended up going to the fair by myself. While I was walking up to the admission gate to get in, I saw a younger couple getting ready to pay for their tickets. I still had an extra ticket, so I gave it to the couple. They seemed genuinely happy. This situation ignited an intense feeling of sadness. I spent an hour or 2 wandering around the fair alone. I wasn't happy and I knew it. Less than a week later, I was single by my own choosing. Story 10. I planned my birthday a week before, and I invited all my best friends to the mall to go eat and go bowling. I got there an hour early on the day and sat at our meeting spot. That's when I got the first text. "Sorry dude, can't come. Happy birthday." Then slowly one by one they all messaged me about the same thing. I was so mad and almost cried. When I calmed down, I got Starbucks and went to watch The Fault in Our Stars. I came home hoping for a surprise party or something, or maybe a dropped-off gift. Nope, nothing. Damn, that is rough, dude. Story 11. I would get upset and vent at Cleverbot because I didn't want to bother my friends with my troubles. Also, the only Christmas card I ever get in the mail is from State Farm. Whenever I get it, it makes me feel pathetic, since the holidays already bring me down. They usually make me cry because my insurance company is the only entity that bothered to spend $0.35 to say Merry Christmas. That's usually the lowest point of the year because I'm usually drunk from Halloween to Valentine's Day. Story 12. When I was in elementary school and high school, I was bullied horribly. When I was about 13, the kids in my class invited me over to go for milkshakes and fries to celebrate the first day of Christmas break. I excitedly told my parents. They were so happy for me. It seemed like I was finally making friends. Needless to say, they all stood me up. I was too scared to go home and tell my parents that, once again, I had fallen for their lies. So I stayed out by myself for a couple of hours, ate fries and drank a milkshake, and felt so alone. Obviously a horrible way to start Christmas break. Story 13. The 30th will be my birthday. A year ago, I was stuck in Atlanta for Snowmageddon. I sat in traffic for 27 straight hours until they closed the exit I was taking when I was only half a mile from it. I slept, woke up the next morning, started my semi-truck, and the engine died. Sat in that truck for 4 days waiting for a tow. No food, no water, no cigarettes. Melted snow to drink. On my birthday, some National Guard guys came and brought me some MREs. I had a scented candle, so I lit it, heated a kind of pasta, and had a brownie while I sang myself happy birthday. It was a job I did for a year, and if you knew me, I'm not at all what you would expect a trucker to be like. A few months earlier, I'd been at the top of my game as a Peace Corps volunteer with friends and a great life. That year was the lowest I've ever been. That moment was the furthest I'd ever felt from myself. This year I'm in Korea with a really good job and I'm wanting to make up for how bad things were then. Here's hoping. Story 14. Rented out a restaurant that housed over 70 people after coming back from deployment so I could spend time with all of my friends and family in one place. After having announced the event for over 3 weeks, nobody showed up. Having sat there for over 2 hours waiting, I got up and left. Nobody called or texted to cancel. I still think about that day. Just an update on what happened since then. A year and some months, I've moved to a new location and made new friends. I've also met the love of my life, now my fiancé, and we're scheduled to get married on August 22nd. It was a very unfortunate day that I still think about to this day, but I regret none of it, because had anything been different, I probably would not be the woman I am to marry. I also have a best man, whom I happened to meet after my move. Story 15. Basically, my past 5 years have been pretty much alone. I go out and meet people, but we never end up hanging out. I can chat people up and be funny and get phone numbers at bars. I call these people the weekend or the next weekend to hang out, and it never reciprocates into anything. I guess when people sober up, they realize it might be awkward going out to get drinks with a complete stranger. Story 16. I went for a run to clear my head after a rough week at work and a fight with my ex. It started to rain. I ran too hard and had to lean on a fence to catch my breath or stop myself from vomiting. A person walked by with their dog. The dog stopped and looked at me and gave a half wag with its tail and tilted its head quizzically as if to say, "You okay, bud?" I know I probably romanticized that moment, and actually, the dog was just like, blah, hi, play, game. But in that brief moment, it felt like the dog was the only living thing around me that week that bothered to actually look at me and actually gave a shit. That was a very lonely moment, especially as the dog bounced away and I slowly walked back to my empty flat. Story 17. With my birthday last year, I was mostly on my own. My parents were on a month-long trip to see family in Australia and had asked me if I minded them missing my birthday as it was the best time to go. My girlfriend was also away at the time. It ended up being me on my own for my birthday, so I put a party hat on from a Christmas cracker and got drunk whilst playing games all night. If I'm honest, I wasn't actually that lonely. I kind of want to do it again this year. Story 18. I bought a Liverpool FC scarf because it has the team's motto, "You'll never walk alone," on it. I'm not even a Liverpool fan. I just like to take it with me when I go on long midnight walks. I may be alone, but I've got a goddamn scarf with a dragon, bat, liver bird on it. So who gives a f***? Story 19. The saddest moment that has resulted from me living by myself these past 5 years was when I was at my parents' house playing Legos with my 4-year-old nephew. When it was time for me to leave, I told him goodbye, and he was all, "You're leaving?" "Yeah, Oliver, I have to go home." "Why? Who's missing you?" "Nobody, Oliver." Story 20. When I started high school, I wasn't really friends with anybody. I knew a few guys from middle school, but that was about it. My sister and her friends who knew me were in grade 12 and went to the same school. So for the first month of school, I didn't have anyone to eat lunch with and didn't want to sit alone in the cafeteria. I didn't have my sister see I have no friends. She would no doubt worryingly tell my parents, and I didn't want them to be concerned about my inability to make friends. So I started eating my lunch in the washroom stall and then moved to secretly eating my lunch in the library. After about a month, I decided to go to lunchroom because my teacher let us off early, like 10 minutes before lunch bell. I figured I could go sit and eat my lunch quickly before people got there. As I was eating, these black guys who were in my gym class came and sat next to me. It was their usual table. They lived in what you would call a hood in my city, although we don't really have a hood, just a place where a lot of low-income families lived. And then soon, the entire row filled up with guys from that hood, and they basically went on usual making jokes. They knew I was there, and even though I wasn't talking ally, they involved me. I ate lunch with them every day for the next 2 years after that. Story 21. 3 years ago, my wife of 8 years suddenly left me. After a few months of voluntary seclusion, I decided on one final hurrah to my loneliness. I took my wedding ring, cost 900 euros, gold was worth about 200 euros, and took it to a gold buyer. Sold the ring for exactly 29.95 euros, leaving the gold buyer flabbergasted, of course. Then I went to the liquor store across the road and bought a bottle of Johnny Walker, 29.95. Went back home, closed all the curtains, locked my doors, played my depressing music playlist on repeat, and turned off my telephone. With all that done, I opened up the bottle and downed it in, about an hour or so. The rest of the night was spent crying drunkenly, freaking out, bashing my head into the wall, and other such pleasantries. I have never felt as lonely as that night. The following day, I woke up with a huge hangover, which passed in due time. I got on my motorcycle and drove to my parents for dinner. My period of seclusion now ended. Story 22. On my commute home one day around 15 years ago, I came across a Lhasa Apso mix that had been hit by a car and left for dead. No collar, no one looking for it. It was cute and kind, licking my hand when I came close, but its neck was broken, and its back was broken in at least 2 places. No one was around, so I gently picked it up and brought it to the sidewalk. I was a paramedic at the time and had some tools on my belt, but I knew little of canine anatomy. As such, I was about to cross into virgin territory. I knew that I had to put the dog down. What I didn't know is what would be the best way to do that. I tried gently smothering it, but could not cover all of its mouth and nose with my hands. It was awkward, with weird angles everywhere. I next tried to use my Leatherman's pliers to close off its windpipe, and the poor little guy was even licking my hand while I did that. Unfortunately, that didn't work either. So I took off my uniform shirt to get at my undershirt, which I then used for the smothering. It was heartbreaking, especially when I felt that little guy twitching, and then it was done. Shirtless, I looked all around me again, not a soul in sight. Not even a child on a bicycle. The pain and anguish of what I had just done were mine alone to bear. Even though I had done the right thing, it did not feel good. I wrapped it in my undershirt and took it home to bury it in the backyard. I left a note on a fence near where I found it, along with my phone number, but no one ever called. I don't even know what that sweet thing's name was. Story 23. After I finished school, I worked for my parents, helping run their business, but we argued all the time. One day after an especially intense argument that ended in me being told to go to hell, I packed a small backpack and hitchhiked about 100 miles to a nearby city where I rented a room. I come from a large family, and had never lived on my own before, but was so mad that I decided to not let anyone know where I was. I was so busy working with one very miserable old guy for the first 6 months in construction that I didn't even take time to make any friends. I remember when Christmas Day came when I would usually be celebrating with family and lots of relatives, but now I was all alone. I went for a walk, everything was silent, no traffic on the road, and no stores were open. I'd walk down the road peering in people's windows trying to see families being together. I finally made up with my parents, then got married, had 9 children, and now look forward to being alone. Things change. Story 24. Sometimes our mall has this table during the Christmas season where, for a small donation, these volunteers will wrap your gifts for you so you don't need to worry about wrapping your own. I just gone to a store and purchased Fallout 3 for PS3. I headed over to these people and had them wrap the gift for me. Then I went home and feverishly ripped open the wrapping paper because I wanted to feel like someone had given me a Christmas gift. Story 25. I kept a drawer full of stuff I associated with my unrequited crush. The Michael Jordan jersey he gave me on my 23rd birthday, a bunch of rubber bands we used to shoot at each other, this paper towel roll we had a big drunken tug of war over in the streets, chopsticks from a restaurant we went to, cheesy letters I wrote to him and never sent. I kept this stuff even after I told him how I felt and he didn't feel the same way, which is the sad, lonely part. Story 26. I used to spend my break times and lunch times at school sitting in a toilet cubicle playing games on my old Nokia and eating my lunch. I never had any friends during school, and I was bullied by what felt like 3/4 of the school, so I never enjoyed free time at all. Some days I would mix it up and walk laps around the school until my next lesson, but that ended when someone decided to pour a 1-liter bottle of Red Bull over my head. Bringing back some shit memories, man. They make 1-liter bottles of Red Bull? Story 27. I picked my college at the last minute in July of 2010 and wasn't able to find anyone I knew that needed a roommate for the freshman year. I was able to opt out of living in expensive dorms because I had college credit. So I moved into a place on the edge of town with 2 guys I didn't know. One was a recluse that I probably saw less than 20 times for the whole year I lived with him, and the other was kind of a snobby rich boy. We didn't hang out. Our living room was a dead zone and everybody spent their time in their bedrooms. I also didn't have a car and had to take a bus to make it to campus. The people I knew from high school weren't really my friends and weren't going to drive me to their parties when they were just going to get drunk, so I had nothing to do each weekend. One Friday night around 9 p.m., I was watching Magnum Force, Dirty Harry 2 on my laptop in my dark bedroom. I heard some noise from a party next door and I remember just looking out my window through the shutters for 30 minutes, wondering what it was like to be them. This happened every weekend. It's just that night that sticks with me the most. Story 28. I used to work with my friend Marvin. After a while, Marvin took a job farther away, but every Tuesday night, we'd get together for dinner. Thing was, Marvin and I lived in Maryland, and his new position was in Virginia. He had to come around the DC Beltway to get to wherever we were supposed to meet, and Beltway traffic can be horrible. I've occasionally had 25-minute drives take 3 hours. Anyway, this one Tuesday evening, I get to the restaurant on time, get a table for 2, ask for a Coke, and sit down to wait. I brought a book with me, so I'm just sitting there waiting for Marvin, drinking my Coke, and reading my book. When the door would open, I'd look up, but it wasn't Marvin. After half an hour, the staff came over and asked if I'd like to order. I said no, I was waiting for my friend. They nod and head off. I go back to my book. Repeat again in 45 minutes. Then another half hour. The staff were just totally pitying this person sitting there. Waiting so desperately long for this person, still believing they're going to show up, when it's clear to the staff that they've been stood up. Close to 3 hours late, Marvin came in with profuse apologies. We had a lovely dinner together. We went back to the same restaurant periodically. They had an insanely good crispy eggplant. And I'd usually end up waiting for Marvin, but after that first night, the staff just came by to offer refills until Marvin showed up. But man, you honestly could feel the pity oozing from the waitstaff.
How do lonely people get friends? First of all, be comfortable with being friends with yourself. You have to be able to live your life happily by yourself. Do what you enjoy, try new things, smile, and be able to find your own company. Something that makes you happy. Then, while you live life, doing things, trying things, make sure you seem open to other people and approachable. Smiling, posture, eye contact, etc. Also, strike up conversations. It's not weird to overthink something as simple as hi. What's the worst that will happen? They'll walk away. If talking is hard, make sure what I said about being approachable is key. Most likely, if you meet someone doing something you enjoy or just doing regularly, they will also be interested and may have similar interests. So if the conversation happens, make sure it's not too forward and uncomfortable, but also make it so it doesn't seem like a passing conversation, but more of a meaningful one. Really, just be happy with yourself and create a good vibe around you, and don't fear others. Have a nice day. I hope you smile. This advice is great for extroverts, but for introverts, it's basically a recipe for social anxiety. Story 2. I'm at retirement age and I wish I knew the answer to this. I'm also on the autism spectrum. Aspie is an outdated term, and it just complicates things significantly. I texted someone today, asking if I could text them tonight to chat. I know they received it. They check their phone constantly, but they simply didn't reply. This hurts deeply. I think I simply don't understand friendship. I don't feel close to anyone and don't feel loved by anyone at all in this life. If you received a good answer, OP, please share. I've been dealing with this for a long time and I'm often incredibly lonely. Story 3. I'd call myself more of an ambivert. I traveled abroad with a group during college. I knew 2 of the people going because they were in the same program as I was. One of these was definitely lonely. I say this because she said as much and still says as much on social media. When you travel with a group, you tend to get close really fast because you're spending all your time together doing things, often usually outside of your comfort zone. This was certainly no less true with our group. There were maybe 13 of us total. Maybe on the 4th night, out of the 2 weeks total, 4 or 5 of us were hanging out in our hotel room, which was connected to a second bedroom where the bathroom was. I walked into the other room to get to the bathroom, only to find, let's call her Anna, crying on the bed. I was surprised and asked her what was wrong. She confided that she was lonely and feeling really left out because we were all getting really close and hanging out and she felt excluded. I assured her that there was no attempt to exclude her. I was really sorry if she felt that way. We were all getting to know each other, and she was always welcome to join in. We were all in this together, after all. All she had to do was just that, come join. She seemed to feel better, so I gave her a hug and told her I'd meet her in the other room after I used the restroom. Fast forward to the next few days or weeks or months. She turned into a stage 5 clinger. I was happy in the day or two after that. I could tell she was making more of an effort to join into things, but she took it to an extreme I never expected. She'd constantly wait for me and follow me everywhere. We'd all be sharing stories in the bus, and she would pretend that she was there for certain things we knew she wasn't. To the point that there was more than one occasion she would say she had this interesting interaction that we knew for a fact that wasn't hers, but someone else in the group, who would be sitting right there. Like, how could you think we wouldn't know that wasn't you? She changed her profile picture to a picture of her and me on Facebook. When we had gone back to the States, she'd start leaving class with me and following me to my next destination without an invite, making it awkward to the point that you felt like you had to. She'd hover over people as they were making plans in order to make the case that she was part of the plans or planning. It was the weirdest, most uncomfortable thing. So this is all to say, please do not latch onto an extrovert. Joining into things is very different than forcing your way into things. You know you've made a new friend when they start mirroring your every move and then some. Story 4. Hardest thing I ever did was walk up to a stranger in a nightclub, sit beside them and start talking to them, but that one act changed my life and led to so many wonderful things. Being once the same person as you, I'll say this. Get yourself out into as many different situations as you possibly can. Walking and jogging groups, join a squash, sailing, kite flying, tennis or book club, volunteer for a soup kitchen or your library or local museum, whatever floats your boat. On Saturday mornings, take a Friday night job in hospitality, instant friend group, start driving an Uber so you can get used to the idea of random chatting. Another instant way to meet people, get or borrow a dog and go for walks in the park. Sit on the bench for a while. Guaranteed someone will join you on that bench and start chatting. It's good practice to put yourself at ease in a casual social situation. If you find the words sticking in your throat, think about the person you really are in your head and let some of that goodness out. It gets easier and easier the more you practice. Also, ask questions. It shows you're interested and people will respond to the genuineness. When you've done some chatting, ask if the person wants to catch up for coffee outside of the usual meeting place or see a movie you've both been talking about. Or meet up for a drink on Friday night at your local bar. Not all the people you meet will stick. Some you'll wish you never started talking to. Some will hurt your feelings and ignore you or even be rude and dismissive to you, but the ones who do stick, it's a game changer. Good luck, fellow Solex. Story 5. I think a better way to ask your question is, how do people not just make friends, but make the kind of friends where you wake up and the first thoughts are about what they may be doing? Something they said. I thought I was lonely, but I really like certain people. Like, a lot. But I was always so standoffish, but certain people I meet I just really get with. And this goes for my husband too. I didn't just fill my time with loud, noisy people. I like bookish, smart and funny, self-deprecating, genuine people. But some people like loud people, and that's okay. Some people don't like uncomfortable silences, but I can go for hours without talking. When I meet someone who says one amazing smart thing and then is quiet, we're a match. I then think about that person a lot and I let them know. Not creepy, just, hey, I think you and I vibe. Let's chill. But I'm also perfectly fine being happy alone, so I really like people who like to be alone too. I don't fight who I am anymore to make other people happy or do what's expected of me. I finally realized that, and it's okay. I give myself a lot of breaks now that I used to give to others for being schmucks, and I felt like I had to be their friend. As soon as that person pulls codependent crap, though, and I'm out. Story 6. Putting yourself in situations where you have to see people more than 3 times. School, work, gym, clubs, classes. It's extremely hard for me to make friends right away, so when I first get into a new situation, I might not talk with people for a couple days, but you always hear or notice something that calls to you. Be nice, work hard, and in general, be pleasant to be around. This includes attitude and hygiene. I met some of my college best friends by mentioning some bands, anime, and that's how we started. One of my current friends thought I was a huge nerd in college. She's a classic manic pixie dream girl, super edgy and hipster, but we had to work together on a project. She realized I was a cool person, and I realized she was much more than just her looks. Her project was amazing, and even though we had such different backgrounds, we really got along. She's my rock now. My male best friend was a classic heavy metal dude or gamer dude. Long hair, chubby, awful beard, always dressed in black, but he's super nice, not a pushover. He's just educated and extremely hardworking. We've known each other for 10 years now, and everyone loves him, even if he's just there with a beer and a cigarette, not saying much. Everyone knows he's a great guy. I travel solo sometimes. I'm not the most approachable person, but I've ingrained in my head that it's nice and polite to acknowledge people. So I always say good morning or something similar, and when I'm in a dorm, if someone passes by, I'm used to at least saying, hey. Some people will take it as a conversation starter, others will just nod back. My conclusion is just try to speak up a little. Things like simply saying hey puts you on the map. Be nice, polite, and do what you have to do. People like to be around reliable, nice, and positive people. Story 7. I can't tell you what will work for all lonely people, but I can tell you what worked for me. 5 years ago, I had basically no social life, and now I have so many social engagements I can't even keep up with them all. A lot of things had to happen. I met a couple of outgoing people who approached me over common interests, and I became friends with them. And I try to do the same thing and approach shy-looking people. Take up improv. It was a great way to meet people, since any halfway decent improv coach will make sure you have a welcoming, non-judgmental environment. If your local improv scene isn't like this, I'm sorry. You could do something similar with all sorts of clubs, but I found that improv is especially good because, by its nature, it involves letting your guard down and relying on other people. There's a common misconception that improv is for outgoing and confident people, but I know a lot of quiet, shy, nervous, and/or introverted improvisers. You also don't have to be a funny person, just open-minded. Once I had met new people, I had to initiate a lot of them to get past the acquaintance stage and into friendship. I had to propose specific plans and deal with my fear of rejection. When other people initiated, I had to say yes. People I didn't know super well kept inviting me to things, and I would too often decline because I felt like I'd be out of place and awkward. When I eventually started going, I did initially feel out of place and awkward, and sometimes that never went away. But other times, I ended up making great new friends. I had to adjust my perspective. I had to let go of ideas about what a friendship should be and just accept that people are different. And there's no template for interacting with everybody so long as you make each other happy. Not every friendship will be super deep or long-lasting, and that's okay. I had to change my behavior. I had and still have a tendency to be very closed off. I had to really force myself to talk to people, and my natural inclination was to sit quietly and avoid eye contact. I had to learn a lot of social skills that I'd never gotten the hang of, and I'm still working on it now. But people are actually pretty forgiving if it's obvious you're making an effort. At least the people worth spending time with are. I also had to deal with some of my own self-esteem issues, and that's an ongoing challenge. Hope this helps somebody. Story 8. Do stuff you like and then check out the other people also doing that stuff. Introduce yourself, see if you hit it off, rinse and repeat until you have friends. By stuff, I mean like take your dog to the dog park and interact with other dog owners. Take up a sport and join an adult weekend league. Check out D&D groups in your area. Go to wine tastings. See if there are any hobby clubs in your area. Ask people in your college class if they want to form a study group, etc. Just figure out what you like and then go to events where other people who will like the same stuff will be, and then just introduce yourself and talk to people. It's not going to be instant. It's a continual process. I actually became pretty good at making friends, but it turns out that I actually do find most other human beings to be unbelievably tiresome. And I wasn't just saying that to comfort myself or be edgy. At least I know that being a loner is my choice now. That's nice. Story 9. I usually start with smiling and being fake polite to anyone who makes eye contact. Participating in the inevitable conversations as if I'm interested, and try to spend equal amounts of time listening and speaking. Once I find someone who willingly repeats the cycle with me several times, I go from there and my fake polite and feigned interest becomes real. Very important. Agree to do things you're invited to but aren't necessarily initially interested in, and then go do the things. Make eye contact with people at the thing you're doing. Smile. Invite people to do the things you like. Keep repeating this process until you have several people near you. Or if that all seems like way too much work, get a dog. Dogs love people. Plus, you can take the dog to the dog park. Random strangers will talk to you about dogs for as long as you stand near them, and then you can go home and feel like you've been social without expending any emotional or personal investment. Story 10. Despite my best efforts to pass away alone, I seem to have a knack for finding friends. Find things you like to do. Other people are bound to have the same hobbies. I have 1,000 different things I'm into. I'm not an expert in anything, but I've tried a lot of things. I can talk to a wide range of people due to my experiences. I'll list a few to illustrate something. Aviation, boating, sailing, kayaking, hiking, camping, archery, guns, climbing, travel, beer, cooking, PC builds, programming, video games, reading. I tend to think of myself as a pretty boring person. I'm not doing these things all the time, but I maintain my hobbies or professional interests enough that if someone wants to talk about something, it's pretty easy for me to do so. I'm surprisingly good at small talk with people I don't know, and this is pretty key to the whole thing as well. Then you can just put things into practice. E.g., it doesn't make sense until you get into it, but craft beer is a great hobby to bond with people over. I've become really good friends with a couple coworkers over this interest. I'm into kayaking, and everyone that kayaks just seemed to be really nice. There's a brewery around me that does a pint and paddle night. Seems like a pretty easy way to make some new friends if they ever want to make that hour-and-a-half drive in a weekday. I'm not trying to say you need to be some versatile person to make friends, but you're not going to make a friend if all you do is sit around and hope for a friend to come along. And if that does happen, what are you going to talk about? Story 11. I'm taking a guess here. You must be lonely because you don't interact with people from the outside. The only solution is to interact with people because nobody's going to know you if you stay indoors all the time. You have to go outside and try to make friends. If you have a routine, like traveling to work, there's a high chance that you will meet the same people regularly. Try to initiate conversation with them and look for positive signals in them, because people can be bad in character and you don't want that in your life. Try to make conversations with multiple people. Involve multiple people in your life, i.e., friend circle, and then you'll not feel awkward talking with only one person all the time. Being part of a group also helps, because you will have confidence to talk to multiple people and can be a good team player. If you're not the kind of person who does not like groupies, then fine. You can be friends with individual people. You must find out what works for you. Alone and lonely are two different things. People can be alone and happy at the same time, but being lonely is not a positive thing. Do things that will expose you to the outer world and its people, and when time passes, you'll have had incredible experiences and friends. Good luck in your future endeavors. Story 12. If you find out, let me know because I literally don't have a single friend. Looking at me, you wouldn't know it, or probably even believe it because I look like such a sweet girl, but in truth, I have crippling anxiety and all my friends have abandoned me because they never understood that some days I just can't go out, let alone come over to their house while there would be other people. They thought I was just ditching them. When in reality, I was having panic attack after panic attack, debating whether or not I should check myself into the hospital to get anti-anxiety medication. I feel like I'm too much of a burden to even have friends. I'm usually fine without them, but I get so depressed whenever I go out and have a really nice conversation with someone. Then I go home and feel so lonely and empty. Just the other day, my doctor told me, you know that you'll never get these years back, right? You're wasting them. You're so young and you don't date or socialize. And it depressed the hell out of me. I need a friend who understands. If they understand me, I'll always understand them and be there for them, but unfortunately, I always come across as selfish because of my anxiety. Whenever I tried to tell them the actual reason of why I do the things I do, I was never believed. I've considered going on one of those friend dating apps, but like I said, I kind of feel like I'm not even worthy of having one. Story 13. Lots of great advice in here. And I'll add what really helps is putting yourself in situations where you would normally never put yourself. Not like go to the shady part of town at 3 a.m. and meet some shady people, but as an introverted loner, you'd probably never be the first to say hi to someone in a public setting. Just start with super simple things like if you see someone with a band or video game you like and their clothes or backpack, or something, just force yourself to say, oh, that's a really awesome bag or shirt or tattoo. You're going to feel stupid. You'll probably screw up the delivery, but in most cases, the worst case scenario is the other person gives a confused smile and mutters a thank you. But that's okay. The biggest problem introverts have is getting past the crippling feeling of knowing you said something stupid and now the other person thinks you're stupid and God, why did I say anything? I need to get the hell out of here. You can even start with just making eye contact and don't immediately turn away. First smile and maybe head nod and then look away. It's all about practicing interacting with people. It feels super weird and dumb, but you just have to push yourself out of your safe zone or nothing will ever change. You can do it. Just baby steps. Story 14. As a gamer, I prefer to be the type to have no friends. I assume that classifies me as a loner. Annoyingly, though, it seems that I do draw some interest from people that want to hang out, and begrudgingly I do, but end up enjoying the time out anyways. Back to the original point. How to make said friends. This is how I involuntarily do it. Put yourself in a powerful position. I work in a management position in my job, and I also am the best referee in our basketball community. I also am a grand champ in Rocket League, which puts me in top 0.5% global. This is all relevant. When you put yourself in a position where people watch what you do, utilize that. A lot of people will ask you how to do things. Don't be a schmuck about it. Every type of person has different tendencies. Gamers are toxic, so I go toxic. Somehow the guys that are the most toxic end up being my closest friends. As a basketball referee, the best thing you can do is listen to what everyone is complaining about and work with them to make the game better. As a person in charge of work, I find myself working with a ton of ex-criminals, and to be honest, they're the most honest people you can find. Maybe not the most correct, but definitely the most honest. They'll tell you how they see it. All they need is someone to hear them out. You don't have to agree, but they do need to tell their story. All in all, I'm saying in every situation you're put in, find the tendencies. Capitalize. Put yourself in a position where people come to you for help. Then you can show them the side of you that you want them to know. Work on that, because if they do end up being close to you, they're open to who you really are and what you haven't shown them yet. I know this looks like I'm trying to make me cool, but I'm honestly not. You're welcome to roast me, though. I honestly don't care. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 15. Story time. I used to get myself into very codependent relationships because I had low self-esteem and didn't think I was very likable. Anyway, at the end of my last long-term relationship, I was completely lost and hit rock bottom. Her leaving me was the best thing that ever happened to me because it forced me to take risks as I had to sink or swim. I joined 2 services, Meetup and City Socializer, which are geared around meeting people in your local area. Meetup in particular is focused on shared interests. I always struggled to approach large groups of people, but going to an event where everyone was in the same boat really helped, and I told myself that in the absolute worst case, I wouldn't see them again, and it was just a case of signing on to another social. This instantly gave me the leg up because so many people were exactly like me, with that social anxiety. It's really been eye-opening. After that point, I was in the say yes to everything stage of life. I ended up signing up to a stand-up course in a whim and now do a ton of improvised comedy, which is again a fantastic way to not only meet people, but also build confidence. I wouldn't say I've changed in the last few years since that breakup. I only managed to truly be myself, and I've learned so much about myself along the way. It's easy to look at everyone else and measure yourself up against them, but life is too short to try and pretend to be something else. I love to dance, and it's something I never used to do. Nowadays, I'll quite happily make an absolute fool of myself on the dance floor, and I know people make remarks, but I'd rather know as soon as possible who those people are so I don't waste time on them. It's a cliched saying, but you have to enjoy your own company. For most people, I think the crux of the saying is, you shouldn't depend on people, but for me, it's about loving yourself. Everyone is awesome in their own way, and you want to surround yourself with people that see that in you. But you need to be able to see it in yourself first. I've rambled a fair bit, trying to make my point. There are a ton of ways to meet people if you go looking, and there are so many of us too. It's easy to inflate every interaction you have into something significant, but really, it probably doesn't matter. If someone doesn't gel with you, that's something that will become apparent sooner or later. Be yourself and be happier for it. It'll give you an advantage during that initial conversation, and it'll make it so much easier to meet people you have things in common with when you're not trying to make small talk or feign interest in something you're not interested in. I'm not saying the journey isn't hard. It is. And I'm still making my way through it. It's so much easier if you can see the potential in it rather than all the risk your brain will manifest. Wishing you all the luck in the world, dude. I believe in you. Story 16. Very late to this, but thought I'd chip in from my point of view. I notice a lot of people expressing frustration at how difficult it is moving beyond the acquaintance phase and into real friendship. As a psychologist who sometimes helps people with social skills, this is the most common place people get stuck and disheartened. Sometimes the difficulty is that acquaintances are rational and friendships are irrational. What I mean by that is you build acquaintances for good reasons, like shared activities and things in common. Friendships, on the other hand, are often more like family. It might be with people with whom you've got little in common. What makes a friendship happen is shared experiences that create an emotional bond. Strategies for taking it to the next level include taking the risk of inviting someone to do something really challenging, like going whitewater rafting when you've never done it before, or traveling way out into nowhere, or going to a strange club night. If you can build some shared stories and adventures, you're onto a closer bond, far more than liking the same stuff ever would. Story 17. I always felt like friendships, especially ones that are strong and last a long time, I always felt like those kind of friendships always resolve around common interests. Like, if you enjoy playing baseball, sign up for your local park and make friends with the kids in your team. If you like drawing or playing Yu-Gi-Oh!, go and find an art class or card store that has people getting together to share their work or duel one another. Personally, I've never felt comfortable just asking a classmate or neighbor of mine to become friends. You might see them often, but you don't really know who they are, what they like, what they dislike, etc. Just make a list of your 3 favorite things to do or really good at. Then find a place where you can sign up or go to and meet with other people there. It's easier because making new friends can be hard, and maybe you have trouble finding things to talk about. So with the people who share what you like, you always have something to talk about and something you know about very well. Give it a try. Story 18. Volunteer on a regular basis in an organization you're actually interested in. One where you physically do stuff with others, not just work alone. A food pantry where you pack boxes or organize donations, for example. Or working for someone running for office, registering people to vote. You don't have to think up things to talk about. You have to discuss what you're doing. If you do something regularly, the awkward beginning stage gives way to the familiar stage, and eventually, this guy's dependable, works hard, and we like him stage. There's always a talker in these groups. Volunteering is good because even if the others aren't your age, The people are usually nice and they'll take you under their wing, and eventually someone might try and match you up with their son or daughter. Older folks are like that. Also, joining a club that you're interested in. Skiing, stamp collecting, anything. Then the topic of conversation is already there. Another tip is most people's favorite topic of conversation is themselves, so ask people about that. What kind of music or movies or books they like. Favorite subreddits. A lot of quiet people have an unexpected good wit because they're good observers. So if that is you, let it shine. Story 19. Pen paling, as in writing actual letters. It was the best decision I ever made, and this year, the best friend is coming all the way from Netherlands to visit me. My other pen pals from across the world are also saving money and making plans to visit me in the future. And let me note that I'm unable to work because I have severe back issues. Therefore, I have little money, but I have still managed to make this work. My pen pals are incredible, intelligent, caring, interesting people, and the fact that they're all insanely attractive doesn't hurt. And we have managed to form incredible bonds. What we share in letters is beyond what I've shared with people in person while trying to make friends the past 10 years or so. We have real conversations and talk about things that don't seem to come up when trying to get to know people in person. Since pen paling, I haven't had a sad holiday or birthday since. They all send me little gifts and packages with so much thought and care put into it. I could go on for days about the benefits of pen paling. You can find pen pals many places online, but I found a couple of mine in the hashtag penpalswanted tag in IG, and majority of them I found on penpalworld.com. Many people want to be email pen pals, which can be just fine, but I really recommend finding one or two people to snail mail with. P.S. I know this sounds dumb, but it was an issue for me, and I've heard many other people agree. If you don't understand stamps or shipping, don't worry about it. It's honestly so simple, and I'd be willing to help anyone out who has questions. Maybe carrier pigeons are the next big thing. BRB, digging out my old stationery collection. Story 20. By doing pastimes where you're forced to work as a team. By completing tasks together because you physically or mentally can't do it alone is the secret glue that bonds people together. That is why sports teams, the military, people who have suffered through difficult parts of their lives together have these bonds that can't be broken. It's when you will put yourself out there and your neck on the line because you know the person beside you would do the same for you. I would suggest going and signing up for something completely random, like a beginner's pottery making course, where everyone there has no idea, a team sport, a boot camp workout, or CrossFit. CrossFit really builds this camaraderie. The key is to find somewhere or something where you and everyone there is willing to be the stupid one in the room and suffer humility together. Then work together to achieve an outcome. Simon Sinek has some great content about these dynamics in his book, Leaders Eat Last, and his speeches. Can't recommend them enough. Story 21. I moved to a new city for grad school this year and found it pretty tough to build up a base of friends at first. I'm fairly introverted and reserved and sometimes find it hard to connect with new people right away. But it worked out eventually, and I started enjoying my new city a lot more because of it. These are some things that I've found helpful. Identify people in circles you're already in. Grad school in my case. Could be work, a religious org, neighborhood, extended family, etc. who you'd like to get closer to and be intentional about pursuing a stronger relationship, while acknowledging that it might not work out, and that's fine. Who knows what they have going on in their life? If you don't already have many opportunities to be around people built into your life, there are lots of ways to find them, and different ones will appeal to different people. It's not always easy to find a good one and preserve it, even if it takes a while to make connections. But keep at it. Cast a wide net. Some things that were good for me were life drawing classes, which tend to involve some chatting and drinking and volunteering. Even when I haven't made friends who I see outside those activities, they have some social structure to my week, and I did meet people who I looked forward to seeing each time. Don't be afraid to reach out to people, however you know them, for coffee or drinks, even if it feels kind of out of the blue or you're afraid of imposing on them. It usually turns out that other people are lonelier than you realize and will likely appreciate the invitation. If someone doesn't reciprocate interest, it's easy to get shaken by a sense of rejection. Try to remember that you haven't lost anything by trying. If you hadn't reached out, you would be equally not really friends, so no harm. Ask for contact info when you meet someone you get along with. Facebook feels like a smaller ask than a phone number to me. Then, if you can, send follow-up links or comments. For instance, if you mentioned an article or podcast or TV show, etc., that they might like in conversation, send a link. If vice versa, reach out to ask about that cool thing they brought up or send them an article that made you think of them. Whatever. It's just a way to stay in touch and build a relationship and lay some ground for hanging out again. If you have a birthday or some other occasion coming up and it's not too terrifying to do so, use it as an occasion to invite a couple people to a pub or something, or even just to go to lunch with coworkers you'd like to get closer to. This can take a while, and that's okay. Story 22. Extreme anxiety and socially awkward person here. I've dealt with social anxiety my whole life. I didn't have any friends all through elementary school or high school. The friends I did have were people who felt bad enough for me to try to include me. You have two options. You can wait around until extroverts adopt you. This can be effective if you join groups with common interests like rock climbing, music, usually task-oriented activities that make people feel comfortable talking to you. Eventually, someone friendly will come along. You can speed along the process by working on yourself, being someone who people would enjoy being around, being a nice friend, etc. Or you can do what I did. I got so tired of people deciding who my friends were and being lonely that out of desperation, I just forced myself to be extremely friendly and outgoing. Just force yourself to talk to people anywhere and everywhere. Some people will think you're weird. Who cares? Eventually, you'll find people who want to be your friend. Just say hi to people. Comment on things that are going on, things they're doing. They appear to have a chat and then have a card or get their phone number and offer to get together again. You'll strike out a lot, but you'll inevitably find friends and you'll gain practice and get better at it. It's literally that easy. Again, you can help the process along enormously by working on yourself, your appearance, your personality, your skills and talents that make people want to be your friend, but you have to go out of your way to meet people. Story 23. 2 strategies. Lonely extrovert. Figure out what kinds of traits you're seeking in a companion. Do you want someone conversational, interesting, exciting, funny, intelligent, tall? Figure it out. Make a list. Pay attention to your surroundings, and when you spy someone who fits those criteria, go up to them and introduce yourself to them and ask them a question that you think might make them interested in continuing to talk to you. Hey, I don't know this area. Can you recommend a restaurant around here? What's your favorite song this month? Whatever it is, try to make it seem forced. Go with whatever feels natural. Lonely introvert. Go out of your home and find somewhere you can go with some regularity without necessarily needing to talk to anyone, but possibly being able to talk to people if you want to. Coffee shops work well, as do bars, libraries in some areas, rec centers, gyms. There are plenty of places. Go to this place on a semi-regular schedule, depending on what you're up to. Twice a week is probably fine. If you recognize anyone from having seen them previously, you now have a reason to engage them in conversation. Hey, weren't you here last Wednesday? Hi, I'm Dave, by the way. If you want, wait until the third or fourth time you recognize them, then you can say, hey, I've seen you around here before. My name's Dave. Most of the time, do not try to make the staff of these people the subject of your loneliness. They work there. They have to be nice to you. And if you get too attached to them when they can't ask for space, it gets really uncomfortable for everyone. If they send really strong signals, then go for it, but just be aware of it. That's basically it. Just talking to random people about things you can both observe at the time is usually a good way to engage in conversation, since you can both have opinions about things you're both experiencing. Boy, this heat, huh? You have finals this week? Story 24. By accepting themselves. Cliché, but true. I'm 21-year-old female, pretty and smart and in college, but only ever had a few close friends. I was not in a group. I would have one friend that I would latch onto until he or she got sick of me or moved away. I did not actually learn how to make friends until I went to therapy for 2 years. Accepted that I had been badly mistreated as a kid and realized that I was gay. I overcame a lot of self-directed internalized homophobia, which had made me so depressed that in freshman year of uni I failed classes. I had to accept that too, and now have a 3.4 GPA. I also forgave myself for being a schmuck all through high school. Did not meet my platonic soulmate, my girlfriend, or both of their friend groups, which have now merged and I'm friends with, until I accepted every aspect of myself and proudly showed myself off. Never thought of myself as charismatic, and my boss even once told me that I'm terrible with people. But since I've accepted myself, my girlfriend not only thinks I'm great with people, but that I'm an amazing friend. My friends now think so, too. I'm so incredibly lucky to have made the turn around that I did. Being alone and loving myself really changed my life. Story 25. Stop telling yourself you're lonely. I can only speak for myself, but I've noticed that people get lonely because they tell themselves they're not the outgoing type. I used to identify as introverted for a long time. It's kind of like that motivational cliche. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Start small. Create a mantra and say it to yourself whenever confronted with a potential anxiety-inducing social interaction. Ask coworkers or fellow students about their interests and look for common ground. People tend to be what you make them, so ask questions. Build it up over time. I highly recommend volunteering for a cause you believe in. If you go out and do what you feel is right, you'll attract others that are like-minded. Here's a homework assignment. Come up with a simple mantra. Something like, I am charming, outgoing, and personable. When I had to learn how to drive a forklift at a job years ago, I told myself, I am calm, I'm capable, and I am confident. Every time I put the seatbelt on. Every time I had to turn a tight corner with a load or lift the forks high overhead, I would say it. Before I know it, by just saying that phrase with a certain cadence, my breathing would soften and pretty quickly I became a very calm, capable, and confident forklift driver. After you create a mantra, for the entire next week, every time you're online in a store, I want you to think of one compliment or quip to tell each barista or cashier or server. They'll often respond positively, even if they don't mean it. And before you know it, your confidence will grow and you'll be starting conversations with complete strangers. You'll probably meet a bunch of schmucks, but you'll also meet some really great people that will be happy to know you. Hope this helps a little bit. It worked for me. Story 26. Most sociologists agree on 3 conditions necessary for people to form close friendships: proximity, repeated or unplanned interactions, and a setting that allows people to let their guard down and confide in each other. Proximity is pretty easy. You live in the next city and you'll meet people who do as well. Repeated, unplanned interaction is the hard part. This is why people have the easiest time forming friendships in school and at work. Without that, you need to find a way to repeatedly see the same people without deliberately scheduling a get-together. Once you have that, you can make an effort to hang out with specific people outside of the regular ebb and flow of seeing them. This is where you can open up and hopefully encourage them to do the same. You see each other again in an unplanned setting and bam, you realize it. You're friends. You get each other on a level the other people around don't. That's the feeling of friendship. This is the formula. And yeah, that repeated unplanned interaction thing is hard. Others have suggested meetup groups and developing hobbies that can lead to social interaction, and that's great. I have friends who got jobs bartending weekends that they didn't really need, just to meet people, with a money bonus, of course. Ultimately, it's up to you to take the initiative and get out there in whatever way feels most comfortable. Maybe you start a book club at your office. Maybe you join a hiking club on the weekends. Maybe you take language classes at a local community college. Whatever works. But it's got to be something that gets you into a group of people where you can form those unplanned relationships. I would advise remembering this. A lot of people struggle with the same thing and are trying to put themselves out there too. And sometimes it feels painful to them and they hate it like you do. But at the end of the day, there are so many people looking for connection and relationships. Why shouldn't they be friends with you? What is a sign that someone is lonely? Constant apologies and bribery. I don't have many friends and I find myself apologizing for every little thing I do. If I could make one blanket apology for my existence, I would. I think since I'm lonely, I overcompensate and try to please everyone to receive any sort of social validation. I'm worried I'll drive away anyone who comes into my life, so I'll be as agreeable as possible. It's the same reason I like to bake. People care about you a little bit when you have cookies. If you have your own opinions, some people will want your approval. Story 2. When I first moved to my university and didn't know anyone for 6 months, I tried to make friends and get to know people. But I was often far too overbearing and would throw weird people out. I think I just wanted to make one friend so I had someone to talk to in person and whatnot. There was this one time, back when Yik Yak was a thing. I commented about how I went to the school rave by myself, and a really pretty girl accidentally private messaged me that she went alone too, when she just meant to comment in the same post. I didn't realize this at the time. I was intoxicated, not even half intoxicated enough. This rave was crap. Because I was a nervous wreck going to that kind of event without a friend and messaged her back if she wanted to meet up. No response. So I waited like an hour and eventually said that it would be nice if she could respond so I could go home if she wasn't interested. So desperate. She said sorry, she was busy, but she gave me her Snapchat. Poor thing. Acted like a freaking weirdo. Basically, anytime I interact with a cute girl. On Snapchat trying to get to know this chick. I mean, she was pretty awkward too, but I was way too polite and nice. Probably came off as creepy, boring, and desperate. Saw one of her posts on Yik Yak that her car got towed and messaged her if she was okay or needed a ride. Even though we had never met and I was probably already considered borderline stalker by this point because of my unsolicited communications. I eventually gave up on that one and haven't tried with girls since. But I get hit on by all the gay guys, which further feeds my insecurities about my appearance and masculinity. And I decided to just sit on a bench at my university after class and play guitar. The special needs kid came up to me to talk about music. Turns out he was Ukrainian. Not mentally challenged. Accent tricked me. And I was playing in front of the Foreign Affairs building. Oblivious. Made my first new friend in him, and all my others came from meeting him. So, find a hobby. You beautiful, self-loathing schmucks. No, truly. Some people really need a hobby. Story 3. As someone who's there and fairly introspective, some people may think they know loneliness, but let me give you first-hand experience of what lonely folks like me do. When I see a happy couple, it eats me up inside. When someone is sharing their wedding photos and having their kids, I start thinking of how I pretty much don't have a family. I'm an only child. I have a diagnosed antisocial mom who ostracized me 3 years ago over something silly and changed her contact info. My dad, and did it all in part to my mom's actions. And every time I think about a happy, loving family, and look back to my empty shell of an apartment, it's that much more painful. I think people can tell with the above. I haven't been invited to a wedding in 12 years. I try not to hang out with those who are in relationships or those good at picking up people. Like I have a friend who's a total player that I avoid talking to since he'll just brag about having a triad or the new skirt he's chasing when I haven't some in a year and consider myself lucky to even have lost my V card at 27, 4 years ago. So screw off to him. I avoid listening to happy love songs, or even conversational topics that have a heavy overtone about being in love or anything that deals with love too much. I often have nights where I can't sleep since I'm so used to having a wife sleeping next to me. Howard sign. Every once in a while I'll show up to work mega tired. Why am I doing this to myself, you might ask? My ex-wife cheated on me and I divorced her sorry bum in October so that she can enjoy life with her fancy Porsche driving, house in the hills having lawyer boyfriend. While of course having a lawyer SO meant she took me for everything I had. But to get back on the market, I either need a freaking unicorn or lose at least 75 more pounds. 250 now, started at 261. Work out until I have a six-pack, arms that bulge out like crazy, buy a mansion and a hot crap car since apparently anything less than that makes me an undateable piece of crap or at the very least a hypocrite if I try to approach a hottie. Or you could find someone who will like you for you. Crazy concept. Story 4. They never really have plans. They're available anytime you want to hang. They also tend to overshare their feelings and blandly lie about their experiences, especially about their intimate life. A really good sign is if they drop everything to talk to you if they randomly see you in public, instead of a casual nod or something of the sort. If they're willing to talk to you about your problems and you just met. Lonely people don't want others to know they're lonely, so they often indulge other people's feelings with advice or support to make it seem like they don't have problems of their own. However, the moment you show any interest, they'll usually bombard you with it. They also have a tendency to grow attraction really easily and can confuse friendliness for interest, which is a leading cause in their emotional problems. Very lonely. Please love me. Story 5. I was usually picked last for teams. Didn't matter what game that was. I was almost always the last kid standing as teams were divided up. Didn't help that I was the one kid that didn't play sports well, so no one really wanted me to be the liability. There was one particular event, though, that I still think about to this day. I think this was also the catalyst that started me down the path to being such a severe introvert. I don't remember exactly what we were playing. Kickball, I think. But I remember standing and watching all of the other kids get picked up, one at a time. Nothing out of the ordinary. I'll just twiddle my thumbs until someone eventually says my name. Only that never came. Once again, I was the last kid standing, but rather than finally call me out, all of the other kids spun around and took off, leaving me standing there alone. I immediately started crying, shouted, "I knew it! No one likes me!" and ran off in the opposite direction. I think one of the kids tried to talk to me, but I wasn't having any of it. I was utterly inconsolable for the rest of the day. From that point on, I don't think I ever really tried to be a part of a group again. The part that made it sting the most was this all happened at recess. Not gym class where there was a teacher to catch the error, just kids acting on their own and leaving me in the dust. Kids can be pretty harsh. Story 6. A high degree of knowledge about specific hobbies or odd subjects. Let's face it, if I was hanging out with friends and getting some all the time, I wouldn't be able to rattle off the history and justifications behind the 10mm pistol cartridge. The story of how Bob Ballard got the Navy to pay for him to search for the wreck of the Titanic, or the principles behind carburetor operation and how it compares to modern fuel injection. These are all stories and facts I acquired by sitting around in front of a computer or reading books because nobody wanted to hang out with me. Story 7. I don't know if I'm lonely or not, but I will try to describe myself in an objective fashion. I have zero contact with people I used to go to school with, due to being ashamed of working at McDonald's full-time straight after it. Well, they're all off to uni and actually doing something with their lives. It's too late to just suddenly reconnect with them now, at least not until I prove my worth, to myself, with my current college course. Sounds ridiculous and shallow, but I know for a fact I'm capable of more than working at a hellhole and being treated like garbage. I don't really use social media apart from browsing Twitter and responding to tweets. Facebook just seems like a massive Johnson measuring contest between people with their pictures, as well as pointless memes and clickbait links. Right now, I've been at college since the start of January this year, with the same class of people. Speak to maybe 7 people, almost out of 17, while everybody else seems to get along relatively well. This was also a problem in high school. I just couldn't actually speak to those people. No idea if it's a subconscious dislike of who they are or how they talk or act, but it's strange. Could also be the fact that I've had long-standing confidence issues in these situations and feel like I'm completely different from everyone else, like I'm an outcast or don't fit in. At the end of the day, it's a mixed bag of being content with my standing and wishing I'd just get out more, which I'm working on. Story 8. When all your incoming calls are from work or someone trying to sell you crap, and no mail in the mailbox is ever handwritten, you're sick and you go make your own chicken soup. You wake up at night and the house is silent. You get depressed from a week of work from home instead of getting rested and chill a bit. You go on a long or short trip and you have nobody that wants to know if you traveled safely and nobody notices you're gone. When there's that lump in your throat that goes down and spreads through your lungs and you feel the world has come down on your shoulders, and you have to get out of that dark forest on your own. I feel for you, man. Story 9. I had an elderly neighbor once. She silently outlived everyone she'd ever called friend. Children neglected her, and everyone in the building quietly resented being trapped in the stairwell, where she could talk for hours on end. The smell of cookies gave her away, long before you could see her. One cold rainy Sunday, I decided to get off my bum and visit, see how she was doing, and soothe my own lonely heart with cookies instead of whiskey. She made me lunch, and we talked. She talked, and I listened. She made me dinner. Around 8 p.m., she pulled out the photo album and fought through tears as we leafed through the pictures of her late husband. Pictures of her kids, who she was so proud of. It was at this moment that I pulled a few wrinkled, aged photos from my wallet and pasted them in her album. Photos of me in my youth, cheerful and amongst friends. She held my hand and gawked at them, snickering my brother's mullet. The kettle began to whistle, so I went to care for it. She smiled and said I was a sweet boy. As I returned with the tea, I saw her fingers clutching the newly pasted photo, a big grin across her face. "Mrs. Davis?" I whispered. Sure, she was only fixated in the photo, a new memory for an old gal. But she was gone, happy and with a friend who now aches every time they smell fresh-baked cookies. Lots of welfare calls in the city, and I always wonder if they go out amongst friends or pass uninterrupted as they fixate on a telephone or doorbell that never rings. Story 10. Getting that excited kind of hopeful look on their face if they accidentally overhear you making plans to go out or do something with another coworker because, they're just hoping they get an invite extended to them. I am this person. I ditched my very toxic friend group a couple years ago, and now I just work all the time. Every time I hear the girls at work making plans to go get drinks, I'm just thinking, please invite me, please invite me. The messed up thing is, I only go maybe half of the times I get invited, and I usually only stay for one drink because I'm too tired to be out late. But I just like feeling included in something sometimes. Yeah, we all do. You're not alone. Story 11. This will be buried, but my heart is broken about it. We had a garage sale this weekend, and there was this elderly man that showed up bright and early the first day. He came back 3 other times that day, spending about a half hour hanging around each time. He did buy a few things, but nothing too spectacular. But the most difficult part was seeing that he was the first to arrive the second day. He stayed 4 hours that time. I pulled out a chair for him and grilled him a cheese. He was just lonely and really had no other way or person to occupy his time. He's a sweet old man. We offered a number under the guise of his interest in a truck that is for sale. I wonder if he'll use it. I wanted nothing more than to give him a giant hug. Well, why didn't you? Story 12. This is most definitely going to get buried in the sea of comments, but I guess this is kind of a call into the void. How do I make friends? I don't talk to anyone for longer than a few days before they get bored of me, and any of the people I do talk to are guys who are attracted to me. The only kind of attention I get are from men who like me but then become disinterested after a short time, but I don't really seem to have friends beside that. I have one friend from high school who I see once every few weeks, and my coworkers who I talk to at work, but who go out without me after work because I'm the only one at my job who can't drink. I'm ferociously lonely. I scrolled for a while and related to every comment, and I'm desperate to be accepted and noticed. I'm not the kind of person who will ask for advice and then argue with people who give me advice. I want to know what I can do to make legitimate friends and stop spending my free time on my own. Though I'm aware I'm pretty late to this post, and I'll probably not get any responses. I think I needed to vent a little. Story 13. If they're not on any social media, or if they are, they rarely use it. The reason they're not on social media is because social media is all about showing things to your friends and getting validation through likes and views and followers. If you don't have many people to add to your social media, you'll just look sad when you get a couple of likes, maybe from some family members, or when you post something compared to someone else who would go hundreds of likes for the same post. So you avoid that and just say, nah, I had an account and couldn't get into it. I don't take many pictures as it is. So that your loneliness doesn't get put out there on the internet. Story 14. The thing I notice most with myself is apologizing for everything. Immediately feeling like a screw-up when somebody says something that can be negative in the most weird way. Hearing you shouldn't do that can feel like people are about to leave you and you feel the loneliness again. I really want a relationship. Any, for that matter. I want to feel important for somebody, not insignificant anymore. I keep remembering fun memories and immediately feel sad when they're over in my head. My brain keeps playing it like an old video on repeat, and it feels sad that I can't get that anymore. Every person I see, at the street, for example, I'm hoping they will talk to me. I listen to everybody, give good advice, and everybody thinks I'm happy, but I really want somebody to listen to me and just talk to. It's just an endless loop of trying to find a connection, but being afraid enough to actually find that. The worst part is how the brain screws you up. The thought of being forever alone keeps popping up whenever you don't talk to somebody new. At this point, fighting that dragon is difficult, and you feel like the battle against the feeling of loneliness is never going to end, and you just kind of just give up. Story 15. I'm a longtime server at a restaurant and have an unconventional form of identifying a lonely person. Scenario. A family of 4 goes out to eat. 2 parents, a 5-year-old, and an infant. Parents sit down, order, and pull their phones out. The child gets to coloring, finishes, and tries to show his parents the masterpiece, but the parents don't look. Hell, most of the time they don't even respond unless it's to scold him for interrupting their phone time. Here's this child, literally asking and starving for his parents' attention, but it gets none. I bet the situation at home for him is the same, if not worse. When I see that, it angers me so much. I always try to learn the child's name, ask what he drew, ask the parents myself what they think of it. I then have him sign it, then help me hang it up on the employee memo board. Also, despite the parents, that kid gets free ice cream 100% of the time. Not even the worst parents would take away their child's ice cream. If I catch the parents eating it, I bring another and say, I noticed your parents eating your ice cream. This one is just for you, and restaurant rules say you can't share this one. I don't care when the parents glare at me or say something. I gave that child exactly what it needed. Social interaction with an adult. God damn it, parents. Figure this crap out. Put your phones down and talk with your kids. Why'd you even have kids in the first place? You're so stupid. You're so dumb. Story 16. I'll overanalyze everything. Is this shirt okay? Did I say something stupid in the last 10 seconds? If I do X, will Y happen? Relax and just talk. It's amazing how I went from being very quiet to very outgoing when I realized that everyone sounds a bit like an idiot sometimes when they speak. You will sometimes embarrass yourself, and you will occasionally fail. But tomorrow you can try it again, and who knows what will happen. So go be a lonely guy at the bar for a couple weeks and strike up a few random conversations. You'll have friends soon enough. Story 17. When for about a month the only times you've talked about non-work related things is with your mom or doing your weekly D&D game. I have friends, but those are very shallow friendships. When we get together, we talk about everyday things, but I have no one I can tell about what's actually going inside my head or no one to enthuse about the stuff I've done or am interested in. Except my mom, for the latter. I kept losing friends I made all my childhood, so I ended up lonely and wondering what was wrong with me. I stopped doing anything that might annoy anyone and basically isolated myself from everyone. It was easier to not try than be rejected all the time. I'm now 26, and though it's gone slightly better, it still affects all my social interactions, and it probably always will. I never initiate anything since I don't want to inconvenience people by having me around unless they actually want me around, i.e. they invite me. Okay, time to stop crying my eyes out and rolling in self-pity. I'm going to be late for work. Good luck at work. Story 18. Know a person that works a late or night shift job? That person most likely is lonely. Very lonely. There is a profound sadness that infects you when you cannot see the sun. Friends call you to go out, but you can't because it means going into work intoxicated if you partake in the fun. It also means you have to wake up at some ungodly hour for your body, but it's the normal end of the day for them. You lose your friends one by one as they know you can't join in anymore, and they just stop calling. You try to meet other people that work in the same hours, but they're often just as reclusive. Humans demand 24-hour support for their problems, but no one really supports the folks who are there for you. They just get forgotten. Story 19. I know loneliness pretty well. I guess at some point you just accept you don't have a winning personality or aren't worth people's time. Friendships tend to fail, either because of me pushing people away or them losing interest. So you reach a point where you don't really care to bother. I can make people happy, laugh, and smile, but I can also upset people and get upset myself. I guess that's part of being human, but whenever I upset people, it seems to stick with me more than when I make them happy. That's probably not uncommon either. At any rate, it's just easier to be alone because there are less people to disappoint. At the end of the day, I can really only disappoint myself, and I guess that's better than disappointing somebody else. Story 20. I'm lonely. I'm introverted, but laugh a lot, and I'm a huge empath. I don't have a big group of friends. I don't have a best friend. I'm no one's important person. I'm in a relationship, but true friendship with anyone is lacking. The thing is, I love one-on-one time, really connecting with someone. If a friend invited me to a party with people I don't know, I don't want to go because I can't really catch up with my friend and I don't want to feel awkward making small talk with acquaintances. But it's too much to ask someone to hang out on their own. Life is busy. I used to have lots of family around, but I don't live in the same city anymore. I guess I feel unimportant and not cared for. Yeah, I know I'm cared about, but as an adult, no one is looking for a new best friend. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 21. They help others, even though they know it will never be reciprocated. Man, the amount of times I've been there for people, but when I've wanted someone to just chat and to be my friend, the reality comes crashing into me that, yeah, I've really got no one. I'll always be the person to reach out to someone if I felt they were down or struggling, but can't say anyone has ever approached me and asked me if I was okay. Recently, I was at my daughter's school after having a crappy day. I had tears in my eyes, hidden behind my sunglasses. I saw a friend who just separated from her husband, and I asked her how things were going, and she's sitting there talking about how amazing her life is now, and how happy she is, and how she got a new this and a new that, and going out to party the weekend away. Not once did she ask me how I was. Pretty sure at some stage, tears started rolling down my face. Lol. I know I should just stop, but then I really will have no one. Me helping people and being there for them is my way of socializing, I guess. Story 22. I drank a lot. I was very lonely because I stayed home and drank myself into oblivion, and I was lonely because I was too intoxicated to go out and socialize. My friends gradually drifted away from me. I became such an alcoholic that I was always the first one intoxicated at a gathering. And although not angry or cruel, I was apart from the pace of the rest of the group. I would interrupt conversations with comments that made sense to me, but would be met with blank stares, a few seconds of silence, and then someone would say, "Well, anyway," and then resume the conversation where I had interrupted it. That kind of intoxication. Eventually, I became a solitaire drinker. It was ending me. I had a big hole in me, and I thought alcohol filled the hole perfectly. Actually, what I had done was modify the hole to fit the booze. Then I quit, 4 years ago. I joined AA, and I ended up a member of a fellowship wide and deep and composed of people who really, truly understood me, and I understood them. Any evening I feel lonely, I can go to a meeting or pick up the phone and call any of the dozens of numbers on my phone. More importantly, I had a really good look at who I am, analyzed my behaviors, and looked deep into myself to find the fears that were driving me. This process literally transformed me into a better and happier person. I was able to pry my head out of my bum and note that the world did not revolve around me and my troubles. I became more concerned about how I could be a positive influence in the lives of others without any expectations of reward or with a script in mind as to how it should turn out. You know what happened? I became a supportive, happy person. People became inexplicably drawn to me and enjoyed my company. I was able to reignite friendships that had drifted into dormancy and make new ones. I'm a new person. Don't get me wrong, I still have holes in me, but they aren't shaped like booze anymore. I'm finally engaged in life, rather than hiding in my room with a bottle. I am a part of life, rather than apart from life. I have to credit r/stop drinking for giving me the inspiration to set down my glass for good. Yeah, it's been a struggle, and not all sunshine and kins, but I wouldn't go back to that old life for all the tea in China. Congratulations, man. I'm proud of you. Story 23. We leave and make ourselves alone. Lonely is what I'm used to. That's what I know. Last night I went to a very small cast party for a play I was in. I was there for 4 hours before leaving early without saying goodbye. I hadn't talked to anyone or taken part in anything. I separated myself early on and stayed that way until I felt so useless that I ran away. This wasn't a big party. It wasn't strangers. It was people I knew and people I care about. Some of them I'll never see again and had a lot to say to them, but I didn't say anything to them. Nothing at all. I regretted it while it was happening, but it felt wrong to try to force myself in with everyone else. Lonely is what I know, so lonely is what I make myself. I didn't want to, and I've been obsessing on the verge of tears ever since. Can't sleep, but if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't have been able to do it any other way. Story 24. When they pounce on the first person who shows them an inkling of attention, share their most personal details, and treat them like their new best friend. I had someone do this to me at school. She thought I was lonely too because I was always on my own, but I'm not lonely. I love my solitude, and if people encroach, I push them away. I just had a casual conversation with her since we were heading the same way at one point. And the very next day, she joined me at lunch and began pouring out her life's problems. Story 25. I work in a bar, and I see plenty of people who come by after they finish work and stop for a drink or two. Being in central London, this will cost them a lot more than if they were to just buy some beers at a shop and have them at home, but they're happy to pay the extra money because they want some social interaction. Problem is, most of these people are lonely because they are too scared to talk to other people. They just sort of sit there by themselves for a while. I always make sure to talk to these people when I serve them, ask them how their day has been, etc. It doesn't seem like much, but you can see how happy it makes them. Story 26. Probably going to get married, but I moved across the country for a new job. I left my friends and family being in hopes of getting myself out of a hole and back on track towards a career. My coworkers treat me like literal crap, and there really isn't anything fun to do in a super small town, let alone the fact that I work the night shift. I hate work now, and all I have to come home to is an empty apartment with no one to talk to. I text friends back home off and on, but other than that, I'm alone. I think I'm having fun, going camping and on long drives by myself, but that's because I can't stand being stuck in this isolation chamber I've created for myself. I find myself withdrawn. Every day feels the same. My mom will call asking how I've been and saying she hasn't heard from me in weeks, only for me to realize that much time has passed since we last spoke. I find myself sleeping 15 hours at a time in my days off because there's nothing else to do. Ironically, I'm very talkative when I do communicate with people, so no one would guess that on the inside I currently hate my life. Story 27. I don't know, guys. I love people, but I hate them. I love how funny, kind, and creative they can be, but then I hate how stupid and selfish people are. I feel like people have gotten meaner, too. I have my sister and my wife, and I just hang out with them. And I've tried to reach out to other people, they just really let me down. I'm sure I've done that to others, too, but I think I'm generally a kind and thoughtful person. And I never act friendly to get something from a person. Some perk or recommendation, some networking thing. Lonely? I am, sometimes, but I guess most people aren't good enough for me. I'd never stand someone up unless it was an emergency. I'd never lie to someone about socializing, and I don't gossip. No, I don't have any tolerance for crappy friends. Life is too short. Story 28. I think I've been lonely for as long as I can remember. Building walls is not just a metaphor for me. I have intense difficulty in letting people in, even people I love. I'm so convinced that they're going to fail me that I don't even try. It's part of the reason I ruined a beautiful 3-year-long relationship. We moved to different places for graduate school, and he was quite distant in the initial months, and I just gave up trying. I never told him how difficult it was on my own, trying to make friends in a brand new place. I spent days without hearing the sound of my own voice, and I just pushed him away further because initially he was caught up. Loneliness begets loneliness. It's sad because being with him made me forget my loneliness for a while. He found someone else 2 months after the breakup, and here I am still thinking about him. I guess it's so difficult to depend on someone when you've been used to being on your own that even the slightest bumps shatter your faith. Manage your expectations, maybe. Story 29. Browsing this thread on a Saturday night or frequently going out to bars and clubs alone because you have no other friends to go with. You want some sort of human interaction or saying sorry way too much. Or having lots of roommate anxiety even though your roommate's with a friend of yours, or the only thing you have in common with your friends anymore is the fact you went to school together. Maybe another sign is that your interests have become too weird for other people. It makes it difficult to connect and make friends with similar interests. And being the only friend not invited to a wedding. I'm always constantly left out of things and never being invited to places. I'm also one of the more aloof, strange, and quieter friends in a group too, so that doesn't help. I'm sorry about the ranting, but it's just frustrating. Another sign, pouring out all your feelings on an Ask Reddit thread. Story 30. Trying too hard to make social connections with people in a way that comes across as awkward and uncomfortable. Usually it's because this person is very close to a breakdown, even if they don't fully realize it. They're trying to form a connection with someone before that breaking point is reached, possibly even acting out of character in desperate attempts to form what they feel is a meaningful bond. People are social animals, and even the most introverted among us, like me, require some measurable social interaction in order to grow mentally and emotionally as adults. The more someone in need of this is deprived of it, the more desperate their attempts to meet that need will become. It's a sign of loneliness that is commonly expressed, but also hard to spot because it's often mistaken for other signs that people tend to react negatively to, like overzealousness or pandering, or overlooked entirely as awkwardness. Once this person has experienced enough rejection, they're retreated inward. They learn over time that their peers will respond with consistent negativity to what are earnest attempts at forming social bonds, and it stops being worth the effort. The long-term effects of involuntary social isolation can be severe, like developing anthropophobia or agoraphobia, and last a lifetime. It's strange how something like trying too hard to make friends can translate into such a complex cry for help. Story 31. For me, I think it's more or less due to the fact that I'm legally deaf. How do you partake in social activities and engage in conversation with others when you struggle to just hear and make sense of whatever topic is being discussed? People think I'm a snob because I talk very little and don't have a lot to say, outwardly. I've been told that on first impression I'm more alarming than charming. There again, I wish I could just have normal hearing. That way I could at least have the advantage of choosing not to socialize, but instead, most of the time I don't get to choose. It just is. It's not all bad though, I'll admit. I don't have to listen to people incessantly complain about things because I only really pick up about 10% of what it is that they happen to be displeased with. If that seems related to a workplace environment, it is. To fill my free time, I work 2 jobs in a field that allows me to work with or without reasonable accommodation. Another upside to being mostly deaf is that I can read people's micro expressions and body language pretty well. The subtle tics and behavior that sometimes go unnoticed. I can read lips reasonably well, but I struggle with making friends and maintaining those friendships. I take things personal and hold what negative things others say about me in high regard, and I know I shouldn't. If I had to pinpoint a reference, I'd say that when someone once told me, "Why do I always have to repeat something 3 or more times? That's really annoying." You're telling me it's annoying? I'm the one who has to deal with it every day. Do you know how embarrassing that can be? To come out of left field in a conversation about manned space exploration and you thought you heard something and decided to interject, only to get weird looks like you're a blooming buffoon. Yeah, I'd say enough of that and you're almost guaranteed to develop issues with socializing. I'm going to be 30 soon. No wife, no children. Basically, I've come to the realization that I'll probably never marry or have kids. And I tell myself that's okay. I'm by myself a lot anyway, even when I'm surrounded by people. To fill my time and to cope with the depression that seems to accompany downtime, I went out and found a second job. I figure that if I keep myself busy, the less time I have to sit around pitying myself and the circumstances I live with because even though I'm legally deaf, I'm thankful to still have eyes, legs, and somewhat of sound mind. Thanks for listening, Reddit. Much appreciated. Story 32. I think it's a quality in their eyes. They can show any emotion they like, but once they have nobody to look them in the eye and acknowledge them, they just look at everyday things as if they can relate to how overlooked they can be. How quickly they brighten when someone diverts their attention specifically to them, and how fast it dims after they depart. The period after being part of something and realizing it's too good to be true, you begin to withdraw without saying a word so you won't ruin their fun. It's truly a painful experience. The more lonely, the more attention you spend acknowledging your surroundings, and the lost gaze you give while doing so speaks to me more than anything. The feeling of loneliness becomes more apparent in a sea of people. Cruel irony. Story 33. I've realized I'm pretty lonely lately, and it's driving me crazy. I have friends that care about me, but they're both girls, taken, and best friends, so I don't get to hang out with them much because they like to have girl time because they've known each other longer than they've known me. Basically, the way I see it, we don't post much on social media besides maybe memes. I hate saying that. We don't post much about our social lives. I'm very open about everything. I'll talk about anything because I don't talk to people much. Heck, I talked to this one guy about my Johnson after knowing him for 2 days because all my life I've never had a long enough contact with someone to know how to talk to people properly. No one groups up with me in school projects. I found myself apologizing a lot more lately to try and make others happy. It basically just seems sad all the time because I don't have much contact with people. I'm just saying, for the love of God, if you see someone alone, invite them over and talk to them. If they start going a little over the line like I tend to do, then just tell them to back off a little bit and we will because, after all, we want everyone to have a good time. Story 34. I used to feel lonely all the time. My parents don't really listen to me when I talk, busy with their iPads and WhatsApp groups. My siblings are all very private people. I like talking. I just didn't have anyone to talk with. I'm the only person in my family who gets excited when my cousins come over because I get to talk to others. Okay, so anyway, when I started college, we had this 1-week orientation where we get divided into groups of people so we can start making friends and do activities together. My confidence was at an all-time low because I just finished high school and haven't had conversations with non-family members for a while, almost a year. So I learned to do some magic tricks. I thought that I could get friends this way, but sadly they thought I was weird and decided to stay away and isolate me. Fortunately for me, my now best friend was also as lonely as I was and accepted my god-awful magic trick strategy, and we've been friends ever since. I still don't know how to make friends properly, so I've just been learning new skills so others will approach me and try to befriend me. I still mess this up sometimes. Story 35. Hey, I'm lonely. I push people away. I wish I didn't. Just letting you know, if they argue a lot or resort to joking at your personal expense doesn't mean we're mean and hate you. Sometimes you argue so you'll stay involved with us. I personally do it so I can have longer conversations sometimes with my roommate. The jokes are most likely a defense thing, and whenever my roommate laughs at me for getting mad at a game, I turn to making fun of him back but a little meaner. But then I'll turn around and watch failed videos of people doing the same and we're both laughing. I'm currently working on the getting mad thing, but I have the argument part instilled in my brain now. It's hard to just swallow and say nothing when I know I have opposing opinions. Story 36. Speaking as somebody that had a very long period of being extremely lonely, around 8 years with no friends, I went from high school with a lot of friends and moved and didn't really make new friends due to shyness. None of the top responses so far are true. Not for me, at least. Even though I was lonely, I hid that from everybody when I was in public and was always cheerful. Not everybody that is lonely will have the signs of loneliness that others are saying. I can hold a conversation if somebody speaks to me. I'm not talkative, though. I didn't hang out at work after my shift ended when I was lonely, but I do now because I have friends as coworkers. So it is fun to hang out for a little bit after. I think the only way to find out if somebody's lonely is to hang out with them, get to know them, maybe even eventually ask them. Story 37. The last time I felt extremely lonely was when I went to a party with a group of friends from college. It was going well as I went with my two best friends, but eventually I started feeling lonely for two reasons. The first one is that there were girls, and I'd see that almost none was interested in talking with me as much as they were with the rest. They'd talk and laugh and all that, but not with me. I had never spoken to them before, nor did I know them. The second one is that we went to a place like a disco that looked like the worst place possible for me to be, as I fear everybody's going to hook up with somebody except me. We then went to the beach because it was close by and we saw a lot of couples together, kissing and holding hands. And that's when I said screw it and decided to get my phone and listen to my music and proceeded to say out loud, "Why can't these couples be happy elsewhere?" That's when one of my mates asked what happened, and I told him that I was feeling lonely and a bunch of things that had been said in this thread. It did not make my loneliness go away, but the next day one of the girls opened the WhatsApp conversation with me, asking why I was lonely, and apparently she's just as lonely as me. So I have a new depressed friend now, but every once in a while I get this sense of loneliness and depression, mostly when I see couples kissing like they found the ultimate love companion. What's some advice you can give to young guys, 18 to 25, that are suffering from loneliness? Don't head online into the incel culture. In short term, you'll feel better because you found similar people that are so lonely, but in the long term, you're making yourself a social pariah. Instead, freshen up yourself and force yourself to attend local classes or speeches or anything in public places. Doesn't matter what. Just get out there as much as possible with the best attitude that you can and see where that gets you. Story 2. Be what you want to see in a mate. You want a girl with good looks who cooks and cleans? Put some work into those buns. Take a couple cooking classes and make sure you present yourself well kept. You want a girl who will play video games with you and share in your hobbies? Enjoy that crap. Don't rush into something just because you're lonely. There's evil in this world and it will prey on desperation. You're 18. That means you're an adult, even if it doesn't feel like it. Don't let the man tell you what to wear if you're not at work. Buy the clothes you think you look best in. Eat the food you like, within reason. Stay nutritionally healthy. Sing and dance as you walk down the street. You're an adult, and you get to decide what that means. And last, but most importantly, you can't give any love to someone else if you don't love yourself. You're your own built-in best friend, and your relationship with yourself is the longest relationship you're ever going to have. Be honest with yourself, but overall, be kind to yourself. You're the only one you're ever going to get. Facts. I keep saying that, but it's true. Story 3. You can make friends doing nerdy things. Video game tournaments are for everyone, not just competitive people. You can go and play casually. If you don't expect to win, you can just have a good time and make friends. Same for card games. You can go to your local game store and ask if they have board games or D&D groups. You can adopt a dog from the shelter. A 4 out of 10 guy with a cute dog magically jumps to a 6 out of 10. And the dog would love to have a guy with too much time on his hands to hang out with. He or she will take as much time as you will give them and be 100% loyal to you. You can join clubs at school. There are clubs for almost anything. I would recommend one fun club: anime, video game, board game, outdoor adventure, sports, chess, whatever you really enjoy. And one self-improvement club: career-focused, culturally focused, community service-focused. Hit the gym. If you can make it routine, you will look so much more attractive and feel so much better about yourself. You'll sleep better and people will respect your results. You avoid a lot of health problems later in life by staying fit. Get a job. Even part-time jobs will have coworkers, some of whom are around your age. You can make small talk and get to know each other and start hanging out if you like each other. Even if you don't, you still distract yourself from loneliness, improve your resume, and get money from things you enjoy. If you already have a job, volunteer at a food bank or hospital. You'll work as a team and build camaraderie while helping those who need it most. It's not a bad thing to be focused on your studies. If you end up sacrificing your social life to graduate with honors and get into a master's or PhD program on a scholarship, that should be seen as an accomplishment. Story 4. I'm not a man, but I hope some of what I've learned might be helpful. I've completely turned my loneliness around this past year by making a concerted effort to continue to step up and be the one to make plans and invite people in getting together. And continuing to do so even when people are sluggish or responding or canceling plans. It doesn't always feel like people care, but I've had many of my friends talk to me or the others about really appreciating the effort I go to bring everyone together. I think if this is about being lonely, it's probably more important to focus on platonic relationships and creating a positive and safe circle and headspace before seeking out romantic relationships. Romance is something that doesn't tend to happen well when we are in a low or desperate mindset. Looking after our own mental health and well-being before we look to fill any perceived void is generally far better for both ourselves and any romantic relationship we create in the future. Best of luck. There is some fantastic advice here. Basically comes down to looking after your own physical, mental, and emotional health. Yep. Focus on yourself first if you want a relationship, and everything else will follow. Story 5. Get a dog from your local animal shelter. Even though she's a lot of work, having a dog has done wonders for me. Dogs are always over the moon to see you, unless they're low energy. And walking her has given me the push I needed to exercise. Strangers are also much friendlier when you have a dog. Despite living in the same neighborhood for almost 17 years, I'm just now meeting most of my neighbors. Story 6. This might come across as a bad way to think about friendships and relationships, but once I had this way of thinking, I ended up expanding my circles a lot more and being a lot less lonely as a result. Every friendship or relationship that you're going to enter ends up working like a business transaction. 2 or more parties come to an agreement towards a common goal. Most of the time, each one brings something to the table. If you want to be part of more people's lives, whether they're friendships or relationships, you'll need to bring something to the table for it to work. This means that you need to think of yourself first. If you're unhappy with yourself, it's going to be hard to get other people to be. So you will need to start looking at all the things you ever thought, oh, I wouldn't like to do that. And just try them once. Expand your little bubble world. It can be any sport, hobby, or thing that you can do outside school or work. Try out as many things as you can. In this way, you're getting more life experience. You also get a better understanding of your likes and dislikes, and you'll definitely meet people along the way. The idea is to get out towards life, seeking out fun and adventure everywhere. You might do 100 crappy, awful things before you find something you click with. It's the shotgun approach. Try everything. Once you're at a point where you have hobbies you enjoy, an agreeable personality, and put in just a tiny bit of work, you can see that it becomes easier to connect with people and feel less lonely overall. And above all, remember that the vast majority of people will forget your tiny little mistakes and embarrassments. All those social faux pas. People who don't know you don't care about you at all. And the people who care about you don't mind your personal quirks and human stupidity. Story 7. Don't fall in with a crowd that gravitates around drinking or substances as their only common interest. You'll end up in your 30s, depressed, with a string of broken relationships, ruined friendships, and a mountain of regrets to work through. Worse still is that the poor choices you made will probably mean that doors will be forever closed to you socially and professionally as you roll on to middle age. Eventually, people will get tired of your crap and quietly cut you out of their lives rather than confront you about your behavior. The phone will stop ringing and you'll find your career stalled. You won't have done the necessary work or put in place the habits to address the initial BS that got you started on that road, let alone all the new BS you've created for yourself over the years. Life is difficult enough without having to deal with that. Join a football club. Start training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Embrace habits and interests that connect you with other men. Forge strong friendships. Work on your career. Do crap that makes you happy and gives your life purpose and meaning. And if you do those things, then loneliness will be an ephemeral condition. Story 8. Make yourself not suck. No one owes you their time and effort. You need to deserve it. Be interesting. Learn things. Do things. Improve yourself. Go to the gym. And if you don't have a good job, go back to school and work as hard as you possibly can, and then go get a good job. Like it or not, no one wants to hang out with a sad, out-of-shape, poor, uneducated, boring person. People want to be around interesting and successful humans. I promise you, working hard at those things will pay off, but you have to make it your lifestyle, and it'll take time. If you don't want to put in the time and effort, you don't have anyone to blame for where you are other than yourself. Story 9. You're going to have to spend some points in resistance to rejection. And leveling that skill isn't necessarily the fun part. That bit of shame you feel the first few times is nothing in the long run. Initiating conversation with a lady type and crashing or feeling humiliated is the only thing that fortifies that. And you'll be happier in an hour, a day, a week, or a month afterwards. One time when I was expecting to gain a few more points in resistance from speaking to a girl at the store she worked at, I had my stupid joke all ready to fail. Something magical happened, which wouldn't have been possible without the practice and willingness to feel deprecated. Try and try until you succeed. Holds up to this day. Story 10. Look for things in your area that interest you. Libraries have a ton of free classes, as with your local community centers, etc. Volunteer for a local charity. Check Meetup for local get-togethers that sound cool. Look in local bulletin boards for things that sound interesting. Find someone near you through searches that does something you're interested in and take them out for coffee to learn more. Go to local parks. Attend open community meetings like the city council. Courtroom proceedings are usually open and free to the public. You can learn a lot of interesting stuff watching a case being tried. Go to museums. Start your own group locally around a hobby or expertise you have. Take a community education class. Geocaching. The list is endless. Story 11. The easiest and most effective way to become popular is by just being a genuinely nice person. Humor helps too, but if that's not your thing, then kindness alone will do the trick. The thing is, you can't expect others to be nice back. Most people will return the favor, but not all of them. But if you just keep going, eventually it pays off. Sounds dumb, but it's true. I've seen it happen so many times. Story 12. You have a need to give love. A lot of society's public conversations about love are about receiving it. For want of love, or how to get love, or feeling unloved. And that is a powerful human desire. But it's an even more primal urge to be the transmitting end of love. To have someone to show love to. To have someone who will accept and enjoy your affection or kindness or support. Young men are especially starved of permission to send love outward, e.g. helping your friends just because you want to see them smile, playing games with the neighbor's kids, complimenting a stranger just to put a spring in their step. All that stuff is off limits. It's creepy or suspicious or lame or wussy. The only place young men are allowed to give love is to their romantic partner, which puts young men under huge unfair pressure to be in a relationship. It also means young men discount other relationships they have. Those feel less fulfilling, less important, and they are, because young men are denying themselves the most important part of that relationship. The chance to share their vulnerability, their sappiness, their idealism, their compassion through it. Think of banter, for example. It's fun, sure, but the whole meaning of it is to show affection for your mates under the pretense of showing nastiness. That's mental. That's normal. If you're a young man, if you feel lonely, here's my advice. You have a need to give love. You're an animal of love, not a hunter of love, not something that chases love down. You already have it. You have too much of it. You're something that dispenses love, is overflowing with it, is overburdened by it. Understanding that much about yourself can open 1,000 doors that seemed eternally locked before. Story 13. I used to suffer from severe bouts of depression and loneliness, to the point where the loneliness would give me anxiety attacks. Here's what I did. As others have mentioned, it's kind of a process. You won't get new friends overnight. That's fine. In the short term, I recommend finding a good podcast or YouTube series or something to have on while you're at home. I personally put on the Game Grumps on loop, and it was like I had 2 friends always on the couch playing games. It sounds stupid, but it did help. Second is to go out and do hobbies. I've seen this advice a lot in this thread already, but it's true. Not just because it gets you out of the house where you're likely to interact with people, but because it makes you just a little bit more confident and sure of yourself and you can do a cool thing. It makes you a lot more interesting to other people. I choose violin, and that's actually what my girlfriend and I bonded over. My third piece of advice is to get yourself cleaned up and start using dating sites like OkCupid. Not for intimacy, but for meeting people. Message someone about something interesting in their profile. Ask questions and eventually ask them to a cup of coffee or lunch or something. Don't get into this looking for a relationship and definitely don't look for intimacy. Never, ever send a message like, "Hey, baby." Go into it wanting to just meet and talk to new people. And remember to make your profile picture funny, not just a generic headshot or whatever. Remember, you want friends, not fooling around. That third step is kind of difficult. At first, a lot of people simply won't respond, and that's okay. You kind of have to learn how to message people out of the blue. It's a skill to learn, just like your new hobby. After you get over that hurdle, you can start taking people out to lunch. Some will be interesting people, some won't be. Sometimes you get along, sometimes you won't, and that's all okay. That's just the process of meeting people. Eventually, you'll find someone you click with. That's what I did, and it absolutely changed my life. In fact, that's how I found my girlfriend of 5 years. Well, congratulations. Story 14. Stay away from the lonely, tragic people online like incels. They're screaming into an echo chamber and no one will tell you to get off your back and go outside. Don't get caught up with people like that. Nothing good will come of it and it will cause nothing but harm. As hard as it is, you have to get out more. You have to strengthen the connections you have with the people who care for you. Go to lunch with your siblings. Have dinner at the table with your parents. Hang out with your mate from school. Whatever you have to do it. Eventually, once the awkwardness of being out and about begins to wear off, join things and meet new people. It will happen if you put in the work, and it's hard if you're not a naturally outgoing person, like me, but it's worth it. If you're in a place where it's just blah all the time and your emotions don't have a lot of movement in them, please don't be afraid to talk to a counselor. It's not an admission of defeat, it's a strong decision that says you're not giving up in the fight. It's all right to get help. It's human to need support. We all need support. And very often, counselors and therapists can teach you some great skills to manage your anxieties and to help you work out what it is you really want and need. More personal experience there. Lol. We all feel alone from time to time, but when it's surfacing in your mind again and again, it's time to do something about it. It's one of those things only you can change. Story 15. Suffering is the key word here. Your painful loneliness is a symptom, mainly. Most of the advice here is telling you to do something to counteract the symptom, but the cause lies inside you mostly untouched. Seriously and deliberately ask yourself why you're so lonely and pained by this loneliness. Don't argue or feel hurt by the answers you find. Follow them and go deeper in understanding of yourself. Don't be afraid. What you find under all the layers will help you better understand yourself, the cause of loneliness and why it makes you suffer, and you can accept and address these causes, building a new culture for yourself. Don't get me wrong. Going to the gym, joining a gaming community, learning to cook, or just being more chatty will make things superficially better for some time, but the basis for your current situation will remain inside you. We all struggle sometimes with being led away from what we want in life. Take time to understand yourself and the things inside of you that are causing this to happen. Stop paying attention to how it makes you feel or other things happening on the surface for a bit. Nobody but you has the answer to the question, what should I do? So get to work on that. Ask yourself and listen to the answers. It will take a lot of quiet time, but I know you'll be much happier with yourself in the end. Story 16. Stop viewing women as intimacy givers. Stop buying into the friend zone BS. Go out and do your own thing. Join some clubs, and if anyone asks you about your relationship status, just casually say you're single. Actually befriend girls and not just use it as a ploy to get some. Don't make any moves off the get-go and just be an honest-to-goodness friend. Through clubs and groups, you'll make a social circle, and this is the key to finding a good partner. One that has similar interests, maybe some mutual friends. Having honest, good female friends means you have people that vouch for what a cool, awesome person you are. Set out just to live your life. Learn some new hobbies, skills, etc., and you'll meet so many people. Try new things. If you have hang-ups, maybe see a therapist so that you don't self-sabotage or drive away the girl you fall for. My parents didn't meet till he was almost 30, and that was his first relationship. Story 17. Don't know if it's been mentioned, but apps like Meetup are great and made for this. So many niche groups that cater to any of your interests. Also, go to places that share your interest. If you like video games, go to barcades. Don't forget to look nearby first. Talk to your coworkers and classmates. Unfortunately, the hard truth is, if you're lonely, you need to understand it is going to be hard work. It's on you to start the initial greeting with someone, and it's on you to make sure you nurture any relationship you do find, no matter how small. Eventually, hard work will pay off, and you don't have to work as hard, but it will always be hard work to maintain friends. Story 18. Seriously, take a long-form improv class. I know it sounds so stupid and culty, but a good majority of people who start don't do it to become hilarious comedians. They do it because they are socially awkward and want to take a leap into combating that. A lot of people who take classes do so with the intention of never being on stage, but to gain the personal confidence to be able to perform on stage. I've seen comments talking about how to converse with people, and that is great advice. Long-form improvisation literally teaches you this. It also teaches you vulnerability, patience, kindness, discipline, support, active listening, and to be fearless, but within the safety of a group of people who are also learning this. So egos and judgment are left at the door. Again, you can take introductory classes solely to gain confidence and be around like-minded people without ever stepping on stage in front of an audience. You will meet people from all walks of life who are there for similar reasons as you. That's really freeing to be able to have that in common because you've got a built-in conversation topic in your back pocket. Are you taking classes? We'll open up a fruitful conversation volley with anyone at an improv venue. Personal story. A friend of mine asked if I wanted to take an improv class with him 7 years ago. I did it because I was stagnant in my social life, bored and lonely. After the first class, the group went out for drinks and we stayed out for hours. 10 complete strangers. Old, young, gay, straight, gamers, jocks, left, right, laughing and getting to know each other. We all had just finished being vulnerable and being outside our comfort zones together, so just talking was easy. I've been married to an improviser for 3 years when I met in that class. My wedding party was partly improvisers and an improviser officiated. These people are the best friends I've ever had. We go on trips together, spend holidays together, and we get to see each other at least once a week. I love the performance aspect, and it's changed my life. but some of the best friends from the improv community have never been on stage, and we were just looking for a way to meet people. Before you dismiss this, do a Google search and see if there are any training centers where you live. I get how lame it sounds. Really. I had to swallow a bit of pride to get myself to that first class, but I honestly have no clue where I would be in life if I hadn't gone. Good luck. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 19. I was the same. I went on a backpacking trip through Europe. Not as expensive as you think. Stayed in hostels. After 2 weeks, I realized I didn't want to be doing this because it was pretty lonely. Until one day I realized no one is going to talk to me unless I do something about it. I started talking to fellow travelers at the hostels. It became very easy, and I used the standard traveler's opener of where have you gone and where are you going. It changed my life. On that trip, I learned how to be social because I was forced to. I met a girl in Rome who I walked around with for a few hours. She told me it's great because you have instant friends. We're having a great night, walking around, exploring the city. After we're going to exchange emails, but we won't actually keep in touch, but we will have this night. When she told me that, I realized there was zero pressure and it became much easier. And I wanted to stop once I learned how to meet people. I eventually ended up meeting one of my good friends on that trip too. We hung for 2 weeks and we ended up moving to my town. Story 20. I found a really easy way to meet people is to play a sport. If there's a sport you enjoy playing from your childhood, find a local league and sign up. There's no pressure to have some long drawn-out conversation with the people you meet at first, and you'll have some common points of discussion. Over the course of the season, you'll just naturally bond with your teammates, and voila! I have a local tennis club that organizes a night for members 18 to 30. It has probably been the way I have met most of my friends and acquaintances post-university. Typically, we go out for drinks afterwards. By the way, I find this works quite well in the workplace as well. Company sports leagues are a great way to network and get to know some people higher up without this idea that you want something from them. Ultimately, don't stress too much about being alone and feeling insecure. Almost everyone feels this way. The trick is to not let it stop you from putting yourself out there. In my experience, if you haven't put in the energy so that you're happy with yourself, the relationship that you do end up in will not be that fulfilling and may even be doomed from the start. Story 21. Figure out why you're pushing people away and try to change it. Do you have boundary issues and fall in love with every person who is simply polite to you? Are you unable to open up and communicate in a way that's necessary to building relationships? Do you have weird hang-ups about anyone who isn't a straight cis white man? Do you have annoying habits like correcting people all the time or treating everything like a debate or not bathing regularly? Incel tendencies will make you an incel. God forbid. Story 22. For those concerned about failing social interaction, view all instances as practice or training sessions. The greatest hang-up was having a now or never attitude. I must get a girl's phone number. I must get a group to accept me. Just toss out openers and see what happens. Play with it. Some days you'll get absolutely nothing in response from anyone, and that's okay. For years, it was all or nothing for me, which ended up being much more of the latter, until a wise friend told me to take it on the way I take on training. Sometimes, you have to train something many times before you succeed once. Story 23. I'm a little late to the game, but I really want to emphasize the importance of joining things. Clubs, gyms, sports teams, etc. I was extremely lonely when I first got to college, and going to the gym and joining fitness classes really saved me. You meet people while also becoming fitter and healthier, not only physically, but mentally. There's so many physical activities out there. Rock climbing, hiking, yoga, dance, jujitsu, etc. Odds are there's something that will interest you and will allow you to meet others with those similar interests. Story 24. Join something that will involve you in a group project. Offer to build sets for community theater. Help make props. Be a stagehand. All involve working with other people on a common goal. Conversation just naturally follows. This applies to any kind of project. Cleaning up a park, visiting the animal shelter, whatever you might find interesting. You will meet other people, and even if they aren't potential best friends or mates, they will know people who might be. Worst case scenario, you got outside and did something useful. Story 25. Still trying to solve some of this problem myself as a soon-to-be 24-year-old, but I figure I'll throw my hat into the ring. I spent the first 6 months of 2018 wishing I was gone. I graduated a year before and was stuck in a low-paying job. But what made everything worse was that I was socially isolated. My college friend group was in a different city, and my high school friend group had gone their own ways. It eventually got to the point where I had to say to myself, I can keep sitting here feeling sorry for myself, or I can get off my back and do something about it. So I did. I became an EMT and started volunteering in my local rescue squad. I started going to the gym again. I joined a couple of meetup groups. A year later, I'm in a much better place. As for the more romantic loneliness, which I get the sense may be a large part of your post, I'm afraid it won't be much help. Same boat here, brother. Those emotions have been especially bad for me as of late. Best advice I can give is work out, get a decent haircut, dress nice, smell nice. The key for all of it, though, is that you need to make a conscious decision to take those steps. Good luck out there. Know you have at least one person rooting for you. Hey, count me in the mix. Story 26. Preoccupy yourself with things you enjoy that don't necessarily require a party or company. Video games, movies, new music, comic books, etc. Avoid temporary solutions like alcohol and substances. While grass might not be harmful, you should have something you can rely on that doesn't cost so much, and not just in money, but in emotion or mental or physical health. I bought a Nintendo Switch because I'm always on the go, and you can't just set up a PS4 or Xbox One when you start feeling that general loneliness creep in. I also went ahead and used all that money I'm not using on dates to get the unlimited plan on my cell phone so I can stream music, watch movies, and distract myself. I also get interested in stuff like, well, Reddit and crap, and have discussions online to keep from being lonely. Also, remember to watch your diet. Your diet can also be a factor. Too much fats in your diet could also lead to crappy feelings. Try a colorful diet. I started seeing a change in my mood by adding brain foods to my meals. Blueberries, avocados, and plums. Forgive yourself for being by yourself. You don't have to impress anyone but yourself. It's okay to be alone. To make it such a status thing. Story 27. One way to combat loneliness is to put yourself in places where you can meet new people. But just going to public places doesn't do the trick, especially for people whose loneliness is worsened by issues like shyness or social anxiety. With volunteering, you're not only positioning yourself in a place where you can meet people to connect with, but you'll also be focused on a task. This can help prevent feelings of awkwardness that might arise if you don't have a particular purpose. It can also give you something to look forward to if you're struggling to find meaning in your life. Another great thing about volunteering is the people you meet are likely to share your interests. For example, if you love animals, you might consider volunteering at a local shelter. Then you're sure to meet other dog or cat people as well. It'll be much easier to connect if you're with others who like the same thing as you do. Not sure where to start? Ask around locally or use an online platform like Rate the Good or Volunteer Match. Story 28. Volunteer to walk dogs at the animal shelter. They'll probably wear a vest saying they're available for adoption. It encourages people to come up and ask about the dog. Or volunteer with the cats if you want to meet cat enthusiast gals. Or get your own cute dog if you like that sort of thing and can provide a good home. Or moonlight as a dog walker an hour or two a week. Walking with a dog equals good conversation starter. At least you and the pup will get some exercise. Should give you an excuse to talk to other dog people and other exercise at the park people, particularly if you do it at the same time and place each week so you get to be a regular. Joining something like Toastmasters can help with public speaking skills. A yoga class can help with relaxation, fitness, and tends to have a lot of gals. Religious groups can have activities and people who want to be inclusive and friendly. Just don't join a cult by accident. Meetup groups were great for me and my BFF when we moved to a new city. They have all sorts of topics. Learn a foreign language, watch old movies, go on hikes, try sushi, work on cars. There was even an introverted one. Saying hi, how are ya? Talking to more people but keeping it brief and low expectation is good practice. Learning to be happy and comfortable with yourself is a key life skill. Making friends with sociable people who like to host things and let them do the work is something I tend to do. Story 29. Think about why you're in this situation. A lot of people will jump to advice like, just have a shower, bro, or just get a job, bro. But that may not be what's holding you back. In fact, for many lonely guys, that's not the case. You need to be incredibly self-aware. Could it be a lack of social skills or simply that you're not meeting enough people? If there's anyone you can ask for an honest opinion, that might be a good idea. If it's friends you seek, look for people who have similar interests. Online forums, Facebook groups, etc. can be a good way to meet people, especially if you live near some of these people and can meet up with them. Be the sort of friend you'd want to have. If you're at a university or college, join a society. If there isn't one for your interests, start one. Through having more friends, you may be able to find a partner, if that's what you're looking for. It's reasonable to have preferences or standards. Obviously, you don't want to date criminals or people with kids or anyone like that, but don't exclusively chase hotties. Be realistic. If you want a certain type of partner, be the sort of guy they would want. If you're an overweight, unemployed loser with poor hygiene who spends their life playing video games in their mom's loft, Aphrodite probably won't be interested. Try not to beat yourself up about it. You're young and there's still time and lots of people to meet. I'm a 24-year-old female who lives in one of Europe's most populous cities, and I've had long periods where I've been really lonely, as do many other young people, including and especially those who live in large cities. Especially if you've had a rough childhood and had to endure things, it can't take time to learn the social skills you missed out on earlier. It sucks, but you have to try and keep positive, keep being self-aware, and keep growing. Otherwise, you risk ending up being a nihilistic, angry incel. which is a recipe for a miserable life. Story 30. I know it's difficult. I feel the same way a lot too, although I'm a female. Learn to be content with yourself. Find things you can enjoy doing by yourself. For me personally, things like reading, writing, and taking care of my pet fishes are very therapeutic. Talk to someone, your friends, family, anyone, even if that means to form new relationships online. I like to think I won't be lonely forever. I'm 21 and have a life expectancy of 82. We will have plenty of time to not be lonely. Story 31. Read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Cultivate a sense of humor, because if you can make people laugh, they will love you even if you never share anything personal. If you're shy and quiet, try to also be mysterious. Realize that no matter how cool somebody seems, in their head, they're as frightened and insecure as you. Walk like you have the biggest Johnson in the room. Getting punched in the face is not nearly as big a deal as you think it is. This is important because if you live unapologetically in your own terms, people are going to feel threatened. Don't be afraid. It means you're doing something right. Not everyone is going to like you, and that's okay. Make eye contact with people. But if that's too hard at first, look at the bridge of their nose as a cheat. Lift weights, groom, and dress neatly. People with naturally bad social skills can learn the rules by trial, error, and education, and become not only popular, but quite skilled at reading people and detecting BS. Be self-deprecating. If you do something stupid, own it and make fun of yourself. Be your own person. Do what you like, and you'll find other people like you. Story 32. Continue to talk to others. Even when you start being socially awkward, you'd be surprised by how much people are still willing to spend their time with you as long as you're being sincere and genuine. Eventually, you will meet with people who click with you. And you can partake in a shared social activity with them and learn new hobbies as well. It might take a while and you might still meet some bad apples along the way, but the prospect of finding good company and people who care about you is definitely worth the risk, time, and effort. Story 33. What are you genuinely interested in? Music, sport, DIY, cooking, learning a new language? Whatever it is, do some research and get involved with that activity with like-minded people. Whether it's evening classes or joining an amateur sports team, a book club, whatever, take the plunge and join in. It'll dramatically improve your life. You'll have people to talk to who are interested in the same things you are. You can have fun, improve, or learn a new skill, and the social contract will raise your self-esteem and your mood. You will become a more interesting person as well. Story 34. Show love to yourself. Talk to yourself with care. Don't be too hard on yourself when you make mistakes, and don't view yourself like you ain't crap. It starts off as a joke, but the more you repeat it, the more real it becomes. What you put out there about yourself, publicly or privately, matters. Enjoy and embrace spending time with yourself. Anything you would want or expect from others emotionally, provide it to yourself. And pay attention to the energy that you let around you. Don't let just anybody around you because of loneliness. Crap like that will make you feel even lonelier. Story 35. Don't overcompensate. When I was 18 to 19, I had 0 regular friends, rarely had intimacy, no girlfriend, and no social life outside of work. I was quite lonely. I was so lonely and desperate, I would go out clubbing by myself to try and meet girls. I changed my daily routine to go to places that had more women and even signed up on an online dating website. For 2 whole weeks, I was genuinely excited and thought I would meet someone there. Maybe I would have, but I gave up on it. When I got only one reply, which evaporated quickly, I felt unwanted and small. On a few occasions, I would make a fool of myself and ask a random girl out in the street. I am mortified that I was that desperate. The point is, every time I tried too hard to put myself out there and got rejected, I was left feeling lonelier than before. Once, I went to sleep crying after a night out because I kept getting rejected by women. Recently, I lost my best friend to a cruel relationship and alcohol misuse. Now I am on my own again. The best thing to do is take comfort in daily social interactions. That with class or workmates, housemates, family, etc. Cultivate friendships normally. Improve yourself. Stay busy and put yourself out there in moderation. The worst thing you can do is throw every part of yourself out in the world, begging for companionship. I'll just make it worse. Story 36. This may seem obvious or long, but pick out what may be of use. Picking up an instrument isn't a bad idea to fill some of the time. Take guitar as an example. It may take a few days to automatically go to the shapes of A, D, E, or G chord, but once you do, you'll feel happy about it. With only 3 or 4 chords in your repertoire, you can begin playing songs. Find meetups for a fandom or hobby you may be into. That's an easy way to meet people. Some people find it easier to talk about Captain America or Spider-Man than it is to talk about themselves. Join Toastmasters. This one you'll see recommended a lot when someone asks about self-confidence. Read up on a place you want to go to and slowly work towards going there. Embrace the idea of travel. Getting out into the world is a natural esteem booster. Maybe start legend tripping within a couple-hour drive of home and start talking about your experiences in your FB or in a blog post. You may find people want to go on your next trip or will express interest. Go to concerts, lectures, performances. Be out among people and you may naturally start talking to someone about what you saw at the show. It's a shared experience. Did you hear Taylor snap his stick halfway through Everlong? It's a random example, yes, but it's a small shared moment with someone else. And that, in its own way, brings you into a community. Take care of yourself. No one else is going to. See to your physical and mental well-being. Get out and try new things. Story 37. Make yourself busy, including doing things that put you out in the world, meeting strangers. Busy keeps your mind from wandering to ruminate on your loneliness, and meeting new people has a habit of upping your odds that you'll meet the right people to have fun with. Have the strength to remain emotionally open. Don't let your pain make you mean. Addendum, don't let your loneliness become an identity trait. You need to be able to accept yourself when you're lonely and not pathologize your suffering. Prospective friends and lovers can read that. Story 38. Put down your phones and go out and do something meaningful in real life once in a while. Volunteer at your local soup kitchen or homeless shelter. Pay a visit to some elderly folks at your local nursing home. Volunteer to run errands for homebound elderly folks. Talk to your local senior community center. Focus 100% of your time and energy on those things while you're doing them, leaving the phone at home or turn it off. You'll be amazed at the number of interesting people that you meet and the true friendships that you develop and how your outlook on life completely changes. Not to mention, your community will thank you for your time and efforts. Story 39. That it's temporary, and the best and only way to fix it is to get outside and try something new that piques your interest. It's also a question of perspective. Too many people think being alone is a bad thing, when in fact, it can be fantastic. Look to improve yourself through reading, exercise, travel, cooking, music, art, or a new hobby. Be the best you on your own terms. Come up with a plan and stick to it. Be proud when you succeed. This behavior breeds self-confidence, which in turn makes you approachable and interesting to other people. In time, you'll make connections organically and you'll wonder how the heck it happened. The answer, of course, is that people want to be around you more often because of who you are. Story 40. There are all sorts of cool hobby clubs out there. I'm in my late 30s and I'm married with 2 kids. I live in an area I love but did not grow up in, so besides my wife, I don't really have any friends, except for a couple guys I work with and we just talk about work. Anyway, I've always enjoyed staring at the stars, so one day I bought a telescope. It was rad, but I wanted someone to share it with. My wife is more of a fantasy person, I'm all sci-fi. My wife encouraged me to go online and look for astronomy clubs in the city. Well, I found one and it was full of like-minded men and women. I ended up becoming really good friends with 3 of them. Now we do crap together all the time that's not even astronomy related. My wife and I have also joined a book club, which is cool. Good friends now, and I'm reading stuff besides science fiction for the first time in my life. Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're gonna love this. Catch you in that video.